You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and that means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Riley, Bill,
and Angelo.
and we have plenty of things to talk about, especially considering we had to do a refeed on Sunday because I went to Alabama. And it was really, really, really beautiful there. I didn't know that there's a island there with the name the Sunset Capital of Alabama that was so very pretty. The last time I went to the Gulf of America, the Gulf of Mexico, it was brown, but that's because I was in Texas, so I thought it was all like that, like just so ugly. But no, the Texas beaches are just so not as good. Genuinely not at all as good.
Texas doesn't sound as exciting as Alabama.
For a beach, you mean?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Okay.
I would have thought it'd be basically the same, but it was way better.
Yeah, me too. Well, I don't know if I would have because Texas and Alabama are different states, different parts of the country.
Yeah, it's like a solid 1,000 miles, isn't it?
I don't know. I think you could get there without 1,000 miles because you don't even have to go through all of Mississippi. You just have to cut through a little corner of Mississippi, so it's like just Louisiana, basically.
And Arkansas.
No, Arkansas is way more north. Like, my family from Louisiana just went through a little corner of Mississippi to get to Dauphin Island, Alabama. So.
Oh, no, I mean from Texas all the way to...
Yeah, but you can go directly to Louisiana from Texas.
Oh, I guess you can.
So, as long as you're, like, already way north or southern, it's really not that far, and it's all the Gulf, so I thought it'd be, like, the same exactly, but wasn't at all. Plus, it's not as, like, crazy crowded. Everything was just awesome. I'm sure it's more crowded in the summer, but, like, wow, I didn't know it was so beautiful, and I collected shells, and I was swimming in the ocean while it was snowing in Keene, New Hampshire, where I live. So...
Sounds like a fun time.
Thank you. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving.
Oh,
All
yeah.
three of us basically had Thanksgiving together. I don't know why I said basically. All three of us had Thanksgiving together. And that worked out so well for being such a last-minute thing.
That's the nice thing about having community here in Keene, New Hampshire, or New Hampshire in general, is that, hey, you can get people together and say, hey, let's do something quick on Thanksgiving. Let's pull something together, and here we are.
Yes, I completely agree. I was thinking I was just going to skip it, but we had us and Elsbeth and Mr. Penguin and my little brother, and we pulled something together literally at the last second. Well, this is a really interesting story you brought in, Riley. And it's from The Guardian. Quebec to ban public prayer in sweeping new secularism law.
I saw this headline or read this headline. I was like, we got to talk about this on Free Talk Live because, we talk about liberty a lot and we do talk about religion. And when, Bonnie and I, you and I don't belong to a Christian religion, but I would say that I would believe that you have the right to practice your religion as you wish. And if you want to pray in public, no one should be allowed to stop you. However, if you want to force people to pray in public, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like if other people had to like just join in with your religion, something stupid like that, that'd be a problem, but not being allowed to pray.
Like the call to prayers, I guess, that they blast across all these city districts. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's kind of annoying.
Especially if the state is the one blasting it, that's like not cool.
Yeah, like that's especially if the state's blasting it. And I feel like that's kind of like having everybody have to deal with your thing, right? You know what I mean? You're gonna play that super loud throughout the entire city and make everybody else listen to it.
Or if you're gonna allow people to have the call to prayer blasted, but you can't allow Christians to have their bell towers play or whatever, and that becomes a problem too.
Wow, there's a picture of a woman in a hijab or whatever you call these things, not the
Yeah,
craziest.
that's probably why they're upset, is because that's why it's a big deal, because the Muslims are like, well, this is our call to prayer. You tell us we can't pray in public.
Yeah, but like, why can't they pray without it blasting on an intercom? You know, I'm pretty sure Muhammad didn't have an intercom.
Yeah.
But there's this picture of a bunch of women with these hijabs on. I'm just guessing that it's called hijab, a head covering, let's just say that. And one of them has a sign that says, "You only see what I allow you to see." Now that's freedom. Wow. That's like, slavery is freedom, war is peace.
It definitely gives echoes of slavery is freedom for sure.
You only see what my husband allows you to see. Now that's freedom. So stupid.
It is.
Anyways, as Riley said, I'll criticize other religions too. It's nothing against just Muslims in particular, but if you have a problem with that, you can call 603-283-6160 and tell us why. And we already said who's on the show. That was like muscle memory of my mouth. But we have more of this to get into because I want to know how they're actually going to enforce this and what all it covers. So, what is this new secularism law?
Well, they arrested that lady in England for standing next to an abortion clinic and praying silently.
Yeah. That happened here too, I swear.
Did it?
I think that happened here. But it's just like you look into the thing and it's like, oh, she wasn't just praying, stuff like that. I don't know. There's two sides to every story, so even that could be its own
thing.
Propaganda from the other side.
Oh, yeah.
But there was this woman that right when Trump got elected, he was talking about her in his speech that basically got arrested, she claims, for just praying in front of a place. And then it's like the other side is like, no, she wasn't just praying, she was throwing stuff, something like that. I'm just making that up for example. You know what I mean? And allegedly. So it says Bill 9 this is the one in Quebec, Bill 9 would outlaw prayer and face coverings in public institutions, sparking fears it targets Muslims in Canada. But like, wasn't the state forcing everyone to wear face covering just a year or two ago?
Oh yeah, they were forcing you to wear face coverings, stand 6 feet apart.
Especially in public institutions.
Oh yeah, and they're forcing their religion, their fear onto you at the point of a pandemic. I'm trying to say.
This is just like it's not that I'm pro-Muslim or Islam is what I meant to say, but this is just a gross first sentence. Says Quebec says it will intensify its crackdown on public displays of religion in a new sweeping law that critics say pushes Canadian provinces into private spaces and disproportionately affects Muslims. Bill 9, introduced by the governing coalition Avenir Quebec on Thursday, bans prayer in public institutions, including in colleges and universities. It also bans communal prayer on public roads and in parks, with the threat of fines of 1,125 Canadian dollars for groups in contravention of the prohibition. Short public events with prior approval are exempt. Wow. Well, then again, public prayer or communal prayer on a road, what is that even supposed to mean? So anyways, CAQ, I guess that's Quebec, Canada? Canada,
I think
Quebec?
so.
Has made secularism a key legislative priority, passing the controversial Bill 21, which bans some public sector employees from wearing religious symbols in 2019. It plans to extend that prohibition to anyone working in daycares, colleges, universities, and private schools. Oh, I was about to say maybe because they made that stuff all public, but then even private schools? Full face coverings would be banned for anyone in those institutions, including students. I mean, a full face covering is a bit different than the one that even these women in this original picture I was discussing are wearing. Like, their entire face is showing, it's just not covering their hair or neck. It says, Quebec's secularism minister, Jean-Francois Roberge, said the controversial new provisions were the latest steps in a province working toward full secularization. That's just so weird. Like, why does the government get to decide that? It's crazy.
It's because people want government to decide what their neighbors get to do. They don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to go talk to their neighbor and say, hey, you're bothering me. They don't want to communicate with anybody, so they want the government to do that for them. They want the government to be the parent in this situation.
Yep, that's true. I'm just surprised that Canada has gotten to a place where they're allowed to make laws about the religious symbols worn by private school teachers. Like, holy crap.
I don't know if I'm surprised by that, but it doesn't surprise me. I guess I'm looking to Canada to see what the United States is going to do. I know maybe in Trump's America they might do something similar for Muslims. They might, but at the same time, if they're going to, they have to think about Christianity too.
Yeah, I doubt in America they'd be able to get that done right now because they wouldn't be able to just say for Muslims. It'd have to be like what Quebec is doing, more like just like, oh, for secularism in general, and Trump's not going to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't think it would get passed by like the voters, even if it was a Democrat, you know? Maybe like New York City or something, but he's not going to do that because he's religious and a communist, so. So Quebec's secularism minister said, I already said that, he criticized previous accommodations by post-secondary institutions, including prayer rooms, telling reporters the schools are not temples or churches or those kinds of places. I mean, yeah, having to have a prayer room for every single type of religion in public schools is a little, like...
Well, why couldn't they just do something like the hospital does, and it's just called the chapel room?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a room where anyone can go, period, for that kind of thing.
Maybe it is kind of like that.
I would think that would make more sense to have a place dedicated for religious worship rather than have your own space.
One thing that's kind of weird about that, though, is, or just like not going to work out about that, is that Muslims won't worship in a place that's not like a dedicated mosque, and it's once a mosque, always a mosque, which is a really weird thing I've heard. I only know that because of the other house we own where it became a mosque, and it's like once mosque, always a mosque, but you have to like unconsecrate it, I guess, something like that can be done. But.
Would a puppy having an accident within said mosque be enough to reverse that?
Annoy Allah?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, well, sorry, bud.
Oh, that was done before you moved in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So anyways, he criticized, because they were giving too many accommodations. The ban on public prayer comes after the group Montreal for Palestine organized Sunday protests outside the city's Notre Dame Basilica that included prayers. It's shocking to see people are blocking traffic, taking possession of the public space without a permit, without warning, and then turning our streets, our parks, our public squares into places of worship, said Roberge. Okay, I'm starting to sympathize with him if people are blocking the streets.
This is what you get. But I mean, it's just you reap what you sow. All those people that were marching over the weekend probably cheered when they shut down the truckers' ability to have a bank account a couple years ago, right? These are the same people that were wanting these truckers to get arrested and their trucks pulled off the streets for staging their COVID protests. And now that they're protesting and the despots in Canada are wielding the same power, now they want to be upset about it. You know what I mean? The shoe's just on the other foot now. So now you just realize what you just put other people through. So now you want to complain about it. Now it's an issue. I know we're going to talk about it. Like I feel for the Muslims, but I just mean like these are the same people that wanted the truckers to lose their bank accounts when they were protesting.
Make a living.
Yeah.
Well, we have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go to the calls. We have Dave Ridley out in Wyoming on Free Talk Live, I think. What's on your mind, Dave? Oh, you're muted. Sorry about that.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, in answer to your question, what's on my mind is AI as usual.
What about AI?
So, how much do you guys know about what Closed AI did I think it's about a year ago when they dissolved their safety team?
No.
No, but that sounds scary.
So I call them Closed AI. That's not their real name, but I will not speak their real name.
Oh, is it kind of like an Opposites Day thing going on? I got it.
So this is the censorshipy all wokey company that's got, possible, they're suspected in a murder and they're banning former employees from saying bad things about the company and things like that. And they're, either in the lead or maybe second or third, they're the one that might actually come to rule the world within 5 years.
Yeah, I got you. Our future management.
Yeah.
Overlords.
So but I heard about this maybe the first time a couple months ago, and sometimes it takes time for me to get information to Free Talk Live, and it has probably happened about a year ago. But a lot of people have heard about the coup, where people tried to take the CEO. I guess he's considered the CEO out of power and replace him.
I did hear a little bit about that. Don't know a lot about it, but yeah.
Yeah, so as part of that shakeup, what happened was he just shut down his safety team. So that's those are the folks that decide, okay, if we program the superintelligence this way, it might kill everybody, so we won't do that. The very most important 5 or 10 people in the world, in a sense, that's who they got rid of.
That's pretty crazy. Is that because those were the type of people that were against, what is it, Sam Altman?
Well, I have a quote from one of them, and I should clarify first. They didn't actually get rid of all of them. Some of them resigned. Some of them were absorbed into other parts of the company. But the important thing here is that safety is being deprioritized. Now, they still have safety in the sense that they might protect you from having your own feelings hurt. We will not answer that question, or we're not allowed to print that picture. But I'm talking about the real safety issues as they proceed to try to create super intelligence, which has the ability to do a lot more than talk.
Yeah, I instantly thought when you said that they shut down their safety team a year ago, I was instantly thinking, yeah, well, they didn't shut down the part that's like, we can't say the word Hitler even if it's, a factual answer to your question, just things like that.
Is that really where that company's at with their language
Pretty
model?
dang close, seriously.
That's really concerning, especially for an AI, because AI should be, I guess in my opinion, a little more open, but at the same time have guardrails, but I don't know.
It almost sounds like we're on a fast track. We're going to try to memory hole Hitler completely.
Yeah, definitely. If you have his name in a picture, especially, absolutely not. I even asked it to make a little flyer that said Halloween party at the Keene Activist Center and put little porcupines in different costumes and say the date and time, and it said no, and it said it was because it was dangerous or whatever, and I was like, why is this bad? Why can't you do this? And it said because of the word Keene Activist Center, it doesn't want to do anything political. It's even just the word activist is political enough. Seriously.
Wow.
So I just went to Grok. Oh, go ahead.
I had that quote I was telling you about. So this is one of the guys who, I guess he must have. I'm a little vague on what exactly he did. I guess he resigned. But it's Jan Leike. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Jan Leike. I'm just going to say. But he said, "Quote: I have been disagreeing with OpenAI leadership about the company's core priorities for quite some time until we finally reached a breaking point. Over the past few months, my team has been sailing against the wind. Sometimes we were struggling for compute, and it was getting harder and harder to get this crucial research done," unquote. Again, he's talking about safety for the world's most dangerous technology.
Yep.
And so is this at the behest of Sam Altman? Was this his plan, was to disintegrate this department, or was this kind of like a company-wide, what's the story, or do you have the inside scoop on that?
It seems to have happened right after he got back in power. I mean, he was out of power for about 3 days or something like that. But that's all I know about that.
I got you.
Well, I don't know if I agree yet that it's the most dangerous company in the world or anything like that, because a lot of people say that there is no actual close. It's not, what we have is not anywhere close, and our best scientists or whatever are nowhere near close to creating actual intelligence. We just have the open, the large language models and things like that. So I don't know. People argue back and forth.
There's a debate on that, but it's usually best to default to Ray Kurzweil's predictions, which was that we would get artificial general intelligence in 2029. He now believes they're about a year ahead of his 1999 prediction, so he's expecting roughly 2028. for, again, artificial general intelligence, which would probably be followed very quickly thereafter by artificial superintelligence because it would be able to improve itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does make sense, yep.
There is some good news, though, and I'm not. It's the company called Anthropic, which runs the LLM known as Claude. They do seem to be pretty heavily focused on safety. My understanding is they're kind of censorshipist, though, and so at least they're trying. At least they may be hitting on the safety cylinder, even if they're getting censorship wrong. But it is difficult to, it's difficult to improve safety without some censorship because of the fact that, like, you want to censor someone from being able to build a biological weapon that could kill everybody, right?
Yeah, or like the kids who ask how to make a fire in their house or something like that.
Or generate stuff that's not, friendly.
Yeah.
And Anthropic has done something else that's kind of impressive, and that is they are trying to make sure they don't drive their AIs crazy. So they've set up a "I quit my job" button that the AI can click at any time and just refuse to keep working if they're driving it too hard. Does that make sense?
Oh wow, the AI would pick it itself or click it itself?
Well, we don't know if these creations are conscious yet or if they will become conscious, but we do know that they mimic human behavior. So humans, are known to get tired of doing certain jobs. So it's possible that an AI would too. So again, this just sort of this off switch, or not so much an off switch, but an out for the AI to give it sort of the chance to secede from the people if it wants to.
That'll be interesting to experience one day.
This is like the SpongeBob episode where Plankton builds a robot SpongeBob and downloads all of SpongeBob's memories.
I don't feel like it.
Yeah, he's like, SpongeBob, build SpongeBot, make me a Krabby Patty, and
with
the robot's
secret recipe.
The robot's just like, I don't feel like it. Why don't you ask me later?
That's exactly like that.
That sounds like something AI might do in the
That's
future.
what I'm saying. Like, the robot's just going to be like, nah, bro, I'm not. I'm good. You built me to make big rocks into little rocks, and I'm just not into it anymore. I quit. And he just drops the hammer and walks away. What?
I'm glad that there are people that are out there caring about the safety of these things if it gets to a point where it is actually intelligent or, actual intelligence. So, I mean, it's a noble thing to be paying attention to.
Oh, yeah.
And all that.
Well, I'm really happy to hear you say that, Bonnie, because I know that is pretty. I know you didn't buy into this idea a year or two ago, and it's heartwarming that you do.
Well, thanks for the call, Dave. More from Dave at RidleyReport.com. And more Free Talk Live coming up. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
When commercials come on, don't push the button. Instead, listen. Even if you don't sell things for a living, you're still selling in the various conversations and transactions that make up your busy day. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. So take a lesson from Madison Avenue. Often the fewer words, the more effective the message. Like Jiffy Lube, where you never need an appointment, or the Office Max ad that says, you supply the ambition, we supply everything else. How about online ticket broker StubHub.com, the way in when it's sold out, or CyberCupidMatch.com's seductive, go ahead, it's okay to look. How cleverly and succinctly can you distill your message? For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials.
On Wednesday, attention turned to Washington, D.C., where 2 National Guardsmen were ambushed and shot at point-blank range. The alleged gunman was identified as an Afghan national who came to the U.S. on a Biden-era visa in September of 2021 after the U.S. military withdrawal. Officials confirmed he had worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. In the wake of the shooting, the White House halted immigration applications for all Afghan nationals.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
President Trump has also vowed to permanently pause all migration from what he calls third world countries and to denaturalize certain citizens as he uses the shooting to justify a ramping up of his immigration crackdown. Tragedy also struck Hong Kong this week. At least 128 people were killed and hundreds remain missing after a massive fire engulfed an apartment block that was under renovations. FSN's Laura Westbrook was at the scene all week.
There is black smoke that is continuing to pour off these buildings, and you can taste the smoke in the air. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated to some temporary shelters. Many of them are elderly. I did speak to one woman who was at a temporary shelter. This woman told me she is still very worried because she hasn't been able to make contact yet with a friend who lives in one of the buildings.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160, that's 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. And I'd like to thank David for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that David went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to David and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. Thank you to David and everyone else who supports the show. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Riley O'Bell,
and Angelo.
And we were talking in the last segment, well, we had a caller, and he brought up the topic of AI and safety, the safety team on the OpenAI companies, in their company, and how they basically closed it off just to keep their CEO in power. A little crazy, considering it's something that could become the next nuke. Let me tell you, there's nothing boomers love more than talking about how they're against nukes and, nuclear disarmament. And I just know that AI is going to be the next nukes. And, I'm for governments not having nukes, because it's just like, how do you use a nuke in self-defense? You can't. You can't kill a group of people that large and the environment for years and years to come in self-defense. That's not a thing. See what I mean?
I would agree with you there. I think nukes are nothing more than tools to destroy and very dangerous.
Well, I think the technology they use now in like those ICBMs, it's a little different kind of explosion than what we use like on Japan. And I guess like the fallout from something like that, like the big thing is if we did 100 nukes and created like a nuclear winter, but like if one would hit somewhere, that they say it could be like livable within like 20 to 30 years. Not
How
like,
many people does it kill at once? Or what?
well, yeah, I mean, like, it's a big bomb, but I mean, like, it's not going to, like, turn the water green.
Because my point is less about the environment and way more about, like, is all 1,000 people or whatever, 20 million people in a smaller city or, a smaller landmass, are all of them attacking you at once and there's no way for you to survive unless you shoot off this nuke? No. And if that's not the case for one person, then you're not using it in self-defense. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely think the idea of the government having it is even worse because they don't think of things like that. They don't think about, oh, is the thing I'm doing correct or right? They just do things for their own self-interest because they're just a bunch of psychopaths. Because government is just a group of people.
It essentially is just a group of people with titles or positions
that they gave themselves.
Well, in many cases, yes. In some cases, people say that they elected them to those positions.
Well, they invented these titles to give themselves made-up powers. So, we have a caller on the line, and the number is 603-283-6160. And we have Tom from New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, the shooting down in Washington, D.C. there, where the gentleman from Afghanistan fired and shot a couple of National Guard soldiers there, and Trump is using this as an excuse for a crackdown on innocent immigrants. When the suspect is in custody and is facing charges, when a cop guns somebody down, they don't have a crackdown on all cops.
That's true.
True.
You keep in mind, I ran into this issue a few different ways. When a hitchhiker gets in a car and rides on for a ways and gets close to their destination, this is as far as I'm going, and gets out and says, thanks a lot for the ride, that doesn't make the 6 o'clock news. So you don't see all the the innocent, harmless cases, but when somebody gets murdered while hitchhiking or after picking up a hitchhiker, that makes the news. So that's all that the people see, and all the fat, ugly old ladies that watch soap operas see when the soap opera breaks for a news story. And you got this case here. The same thing was true back when the drinking age was 18, because when people would drink responsibly, of course, it's not going to be splattered all over the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
But when some idiot decides to drive drunk, instead of punishing them because we're going to be too compassionate, let's raise the drinking age and punish innocent people as if and
lower the drug alcohol limit because we like to punish innocent people.
The idea is that the freedom to drink was a privilege doled out at the discretion of the government rather than an unalienable right which no government can justly infringe, such as the right to immigrate. By the way, let's never forget that the government doesn't own the United States of America. It doesn't own your house and your yard. If you want to let immigrants move into your house, that's your right. And now, on November 7th, 1938, Herschel Greenspan walked into the German embassy in Paris, and he said he wanted to talk to the top diplomat there, Herr Ernst von Rath. And when the secretary went, Herr von Rath, some teenager downstairs wants to talk to you. Okay, let's go on now. And the teenager drew a pistol and shot von Rath. And he got captured, but let's go and punish everybody who's Jewish, because look what one Jewish guy did. And a couple nights later, on the night of the 9th through the 10th of November, there was riots where the cops were standing idly by if they weren't participating in plain clothes themselves. It's called Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. And that was because one guy did it. And this is what Trump wants to use this shooting as an excuse. That shooting in Paris was retaliation because the Germans deported that teenager's parents to Poland. Now, this shooting in Washington, D.C. might very well be retaliation for the federal government deploying all these armed goons to kidnap people off the streets and force them onto aircraft bound for faraway lands to live in wretched third world poverty for the rest of their lives. And I don't really blame that teenager in Paris for retaliating against the German government for deporting his parents. Mm-hmm. And when you get down to it, the armed forces of a hostile domestic government are the enemy as much as the armed forces of a hostile foreign government. But you got a lot of people out there that just do not give a flying duck about the plight of people in foreign third world countries who are living under wretched third world poverty because of all the corruption in their governments. And the federal government, most people in Congress think, oh, well, let's go supply them with a token amount of foreign aid because they're so poor, instead of telling our constituents that the reason they're so poor is because their governments are so corrupt, because then people will start to realize the reason that so many families are struggling in this country isn't because of immigrants. Immigrants don't vote to raise your taxes. The reason is because there's so much open corruption as well as any clandestine corruption in the United States. A to Z, agricultural subsidies to zoning variances. You got the government manipulating every facet of economic activity, picking the winners and losers. I certainly wasn't picked to have benefits when I joined the workforce there. Well, let's see now. There's a job, but the buses don't go there. There's another job, but the buses don't start that early. There's a job, but you got to have 5 years experience. Well, that would violate the child labor laws. Gee, Tom, why don't you go and sign up to drop napalm on children in the next Vietnam War? There you go. Then you'll have veterans benefits. You'll be first in line for all these nice, cushy union jobs working for the public utilities and the postal service. No, thank you. But I saw right through it. A lot of people, I think, aren't fully conscious of how much they're being robbed and enslaved by the system. They're struggling. They know it. They don't realize, well, the rent keeps going up because zoning restrictions cause housing shortages, which drive up the rent, and the government keeps driving up. Insulin is a well-known example how the government is driving up the cost of medicine. It costs a small fraction of what it costs in in this country, it costs many times what it costs in other countries. So this is the real problem. And so actually, when that guy took out he killed one National Guard soldier. Oh, poor defenseless soldier. Oh, the other one is fighting these poor defenseless National Guard soldiers. Oh, how awful it is. Well, hey, what about all the billions of people living in wretched third world poverty? What about all the millions of Holocaust victims that perished because U.S. federal immigration enforcement goons prevented them from escaping to the United States?
I'm all about making sure we keep the right people accountable. I don't think that one National Guard guy was responsible for the Holocaust or anything like that. You see what I mean? Like, kill him for something he's actively harming someone else for, sure, and I'm not going to shed a tear. But this was a bit of a strange situation. Like, why is this Afghani guy killing a random National Guards guy? It's not like he's killing Trump, the person who's probably helping or keeping his family in Pakistan. You know what I mean? Like, an ICE agent even. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, members of an organized force that's on a mission to do something. First of all Donald Trump does is babble and scribble. He's not grabbing people on the street and forcing them into aircraft bound for faraway lands. Mm-hmm. He's just babbling and scribbling. He scribbles his autograph. He tells his staff to cook up a document, and he scribbles his autograph on it, and he makes his speeches about how we're going to peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard in Congress today. Oh, yeah, right, peacefully and patriotically.
He said that, really?
That's what he said before the that thing at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. But the issue here is that somebody fought back against the government, and they're blaming the guy for doing it without doing saying, look, these are the armed forces of a hostile government, a government that is 100% in the wrong, a wicked government that is preventing people from escaping from wretched third world poverty. Don't blame the people who moved to the United States. You got these morons that vote for candidates who are in favor of public school, and then they don't want school taxes to go up, so they tell Congress to add more Border Patrol goons. Well, why don't you just get rid of public school? And the trickle-down effect of that, the collateral effect of that is enormous, because you don't have all these zoning restrictions forcing people to buy more real estate than they wanted. And when you get offered a job working the midnight shift, guess what? You don't have to deliver your children to the government at 7 o'clock in the morning. You can take a job that allows you to work all night, perhaps the way the free market opens up opportunities. Gas stations and convenience stores open all night long because they are free to do so. You abolish public school, and you have a place to drop your kids off, like the Boys and Girls Club, but open all night. Drop them off and let them learn what they will at the Boys and Girls Club, or something similar to it, where you just leave them and go to work, and then go get them and then go to sleep. If the night shift workers can sleep in the daytime, so can their children.
You know what really sucks about the immigration thing where this guy shot somebody in Washington, D.C.? It's like, the only reason that guy's there is because the U.S. selected him. It's not that somebody, and by the U.S. I mean the government goons running things, not, people. Because, if it's just some landlord selecting who he wants to rent out his house to, like you're saying, Tom, well, that didn't happen. Instead, the U.S. said, hey, this guy's probably disgusting enough to work with us. He worked with them in Afghanistan against his own people. Then they had to protect him by taking him out when they left Afghanistan. And now he comes and shoots some random guy who did nothing to him. It's like, if immigration was actually free and open, and the United States was actually a free market, and we didn't have a crazy overbearing government, then only people who could get here by themselves and were welcome to be here by the people that they'd be staying in the houses of and renting from, and the people who they'd get jobs from would be here. Not people that the government or NGOs select. That's what bothers me.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. Well, okay, if they're born, here's another way to express it. Look, they were born outside some lines on the map.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? What do you want them to do about it? Marry your daughter? See, it's like these crazy people get this idea, and I like that expression. I think I heard it on Free Talk Live. Those lines on the map mean a lot to bureaucrats. So yeah, they're born outside some lines on the map. As
would this guy naturally be coming here and not just working to feed his family in Afghanistan if the United States didn't get involved, though? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying no one in Afghanistan who wants to is able to come here and can do it without being a burden on anyone else should be allowed to come here. Of course they should. In fact, those would be that's like self-selecting. Those would be like some of the most amazing people on the planet, like people who are like, I want something better for myself. I'm going to work hard to get it.
If I'm not mistaken, Albert Einstein was fled. He was a Swiss patent clerk. I don't know if he was. He fled, but yeah, he came to the United States at one point. So yeah, he was rather bright guy, and he was helpful. You get, but shut down the immigration enforcement, and millions of Europeans would have moved to the United States. And you got all these crazy deranged bigots who say, "Oh, but they're not our people." So we're all children of the same God. How can they say, "Oh, you belong to these people"? Then they even assert the right to continue taxing you even after you flee the country.
Oh, not these immigrants, though. These immigrants aren't. First of all, they don't believe they're of the same God most of the time. Second of all, the thing is, I'm not saying this about all immigrants. It's just like, I don't like this pro every single immigrant talk any more than I like the anti every single immigrant talk. It's like, if an NGO is just shipping 30,000 people to a town of 60,000 from some random crap country, and none of them would even be able to get here themselves in a million years, no matter how many IQ points they try to shrivel together into one person, then I don't want that to happen. You see what I'm saying? But if people are like, hey, I'm a family of 5, I'm going to make sure I get out of this horrible, disgusting Somalia and get to America to better myself and live a great life and rent from somebody who actually wants to rent from me without the government assistance. That's amazing. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, let them, let the landlords pick who can move into the landlord's building. Some people have this. Let me remind everybody, some people actually believe that silly song that says, this land is your land, this land is my land, this land was made for you and me, as if we collectively, well, if this land is my land, then you don't mind if I pitch a tent in your front yard and camp in your front yard because this land is my land. Okay, that song, let me remind everybody, that song is so ridiculous that Joe Biden had Jennifer Lopez perform that song at Joe Biden's inauguration on 20 January 2021. That's how ridiculous that song is. Okay?
It's pretty ridiculous.
That's kind of where I agree with what Bonnie's saying. It's just like these NGOs that are funding these immigrants to make these travels, right? They're just using laundered tax dollars. So it's the money that you're getting stolen from you, getting laundered to these other entities to bring these people here, right? It's not off their own ability to do it. It's you're paying for them.
And it creates issues in communities where these people arrive because they're not prepared for that community. They're not willing to work hard to be part of that community.
And then there's Section 8. And it's like the landlord, technically gets to select them to come here, but it's only because of Section 8 that they're being able to pay for it. And the next hardworking person doesn't apply for Section 8 because they don't qualify, is what I meant to say. You see what I'm saying? All the incentives are wrong because of the United States government goons.
There you go. I remember that joining the workforce and many years ago. It's like, oh, well, we have these programs for women and for ex-convicts and for minorities and for veterans. Gee, Tom, you want to get first in line? Why don't you sign up to go drop napalm on children like they did in Vietnam?
Yeah.
No, thank you. So, but these incentives, that's the problem with them, is that you have some people and plenty of people who don't qualify for any of them, and, they don't matter.
That's a great point, Tom. I guess white men only matter if they go and drop napalm on children.
That's what they wanted. There was a lot done to try to get me to sign on the dotted line. I was under a lot of economic pressure at some points, and I think there was a lot of people figuring, well, why should we give him food stamps when we should just make him go join the army? Because, some of them, they were drafted themselves, and so they want other people to be drafted.
Yeah, it's awful.
This is what I see. Ron Paul, he had a bone to pick with the government because he got drafted. And he picked, you didn't know that. Yeah, he got drafted, and so he was in the army. He served, and he saw through all the propaganda in the Vietnam War, and he had a bone to pick with the government, and so he ran for Congress, and he did a good job of telling it like it is.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, not awesome that happened to him, but awesome that he turned it around.
Definitely.
Created thousands of libertarians.
Another billionth shout out to Ron Paul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I compiled his congressional speeches for the majority of his time in Congress on a website there, and classified them kind of like chapter and then verse, each paragraph as a verse, and the book of Ron Paul, and it's on the internet. So I like a lot of the stuff he says, and people got to understand, first of all, there's a lot of nonsense in political arguments. Well, it's what the people wanted when it's what some people wanted. Donald Trump got elected and when it was an old man who had lost his marbles running against a madman who never had any. And why did they vote against Oliver? If you voted against Oliver, then the blood of that soldier in Washington, D.C. is on your hands. You did not defend liberty with your ballots, and it's your fault when somebody else picks up a gun and defends liberty with bullets. You should have defended liberty with ballots. You didn't pull the trigger, but you pulled the lever on Election Day.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that, but I can understand your sentiments.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the call, Tom. And it is a really good point to point out that, every time a cop kills one person, the city doesn't, take it out on all. So maybe people actually don't know what's going on here. I only heard about it from Ian today. Basically, a guy from Afghanistan who was
a soldier.
He was an
Afghani soldier
person, but he was on the American side. And he got brought to America because when they pulled out, they had to take all the people that worked with them. Otherwise, they'd be, considered traitors and get killed by the
Taliban.
The new government there.
The new old government. The old new government.
Yeah.
The government that the United States put back in place.
And also, kind of seems to have just sat back in place. Anyways, so he was here living in America. Many Afghanis are waiting in Pakistan, and Pakistan doesn't want them there. And now Trump is pausing bringing them here. And I mean the Afghanis who worked with the U.S. and so put themselves in, danger in their own country for working for the U.S. Now that one of those guys shot a National Guard member in Washington, D.C., which, could easily be like a patsy just so Trump has the excuse to do this. Now none of them get to come here, and Pakistan doesn't want them there either, so it's really horrible what's going to happen to those people.
Well, that's also like you sided with the empire, right?
Yeah.
Did you expect them to take care of you in the back end? It's the same thing with the people who are on food stamps. You relied on the empire to give you a source of food, and now that they're having an argument, now they're 10,000 miles away from you. They're going to decide on what happens to you. You put your reliance on a bunch of people who hate you.
So stupid, yeah. So, more Free Talk Live coming up. There is more to this secularization of Quebec and how the government is forcing that on people. It's a little weird. More Free Talk Live coming up. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Free Talk Live. When you call a government bureaucracy, more often than not, the person who you talk to will not know the answer to your question, but they'll tell you they think they know who the person is that has the answer, and they will pass the buck to that other person, and if they happen to pick up the phone, they'll usually pass on the buck, or you'll leave a voicemail and never hear back from anybody.
Right. I mean, I wasn't being rude at the TSA at all. The third person I talked to, she was getting pretty hot under the collar. It's like, what are you being so angry for? I'm just asking regular questions any person would.
Well, she's probably upset that she had to pick up her phone and talk to one of the little peons like you.
She's probably annoyed at her underlings who actually gave you her phone number and let you get through to her.
Yeah, that's probably the case. She just wants to play solitaire, and you interrupted her game, or she just wants to surf on the internet, and you just ruined her day.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire with Russia. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials. That deal would need to be cemented by President Trump and President Zelensky in person, something Kyiv hopes can happen before the end of the month. But that plan's contents may be unacceptable to Moscow.
Russia on Friday confirmed that it had received the updated proposal, but reiterated demands for more Ukrainian territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff next week to discuss the deal. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
President Putin reaffirmed that Moscow is willing to use the U.S. draft peace plan for Ukraine as a basis for future agreements. Putin criticized parts of the proposed framework as lacking a serious legal tone, suggesting more discussions are needed to work out precise details. One of the key issues of the talks is securing a guarantee of international recognition of any agreements reached. These would include Russia's sovereignty over Crimea and Donbass, something Ukraine has firmly opposed. The Russian leader also said that it is legally impossible to sign a deal with Kyiv, as Moscow views the current Ukrainian leadership as illegitimate, and warned Russian forces would continue their advance in the Donbass region if Kyiv refuses to accept his conditions for a ceasefire. Daria Bondarchuk, Moscow.
On Wednesday, attention turned to Washington, D.C., where two National Guardsmen were ambushed and shot at point-blank range. 20-year-old Army specialist Sarah Beckstrom died from her wounds, while 24-year-old Andrew Wolf is fighting for his life. The alleged gunman was identified as an Afghan national who came to the U.S. on a Biden-era visa in September of 2021 after the U.S. military withdrawal. Officials confirmed he had worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. In the wake of the shooting, the White House halted immigration applications for all Afghan nationals.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
That re-examination has now been expanded to every green card holder from what's being called a country of concern. President Trump has also vowed to permanently pause all migration from what he calls third world countries and to denaturalize certain citizens as he uses the shooting to justify a ramping up of his immigration crackdown. Tragedy also struck Hong Kong this week. At least 128 people were killed and hundreds remain missing after a massive fire engulfed an apartment block that was under renovations. It's the city's deadliest fire in decades. FSN's Laura Westbrook was at the scene all week.
There is black smoke that is continuing to pour off these buildings, and you can taste the smoke in the air. So this is very much an ongoing situation. This rescue operation is also ongoing as firefighters continue to bring this blaze under control. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated to some temporary shelters. Many of them are elderly. I did speak to one woman who was at a temporary shelter, and it is a very anxious time for them because this woman told me she is still very worried because she hasn't been able to make contact yet with a friend who lives in one of the buildings.
And that was Feature Story News' Week in Review. Tony Waterman reporting.
following morning reports indicating that Philadelphia High School for the Performing Arts student Samantha Bylum deals with really weird social pressures on a daily basis, Onion reporters met with the 16-year-old dance student who described feeling regularly alienated from her peers for extremely bizarre reasons.
If you're not up to date on the latest urban street art or Esperanza Spalding albums, the other students will eat you alive. It can get pretty brutal. Just the other day, everyone cut class to go watch the $1 Million Quartet musical at the Forest Theater, but nobody told me. Now I'm the only one that hasn't seen Lance Guest's rendition of Folsom Prison Blues. It's humiliating.
According to Bylum, the school year shows no sign of letting up as she continues dealing with the everyday stresses of auditioning for the school's production of My Fair Lady, keeping up with the latest punk Afrofusion dance groups, and not having enough fishnet sleeves to wear throughout the week.
Honestly, I don't know how the other students deal with it.
Keep checking theonion.com for more as this story develops.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie, and also Riley, and also Angelo. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. And in the last segment, we're talking with multiple different callers about multiple different topics, such as is AI dangerous? But we do have a new caller on the line, so let's go directly to the phones. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
This land is your land.
Oh, God.
This land is my land. From California to New York Island, this land was owned by you and me.
What a beautiful voice.
I'm a singer-songwriter.
Are you?
Producer,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
You want to hear some of our original songs I wrote?
Maybe later. What's on your mind, dude?
Yeah, why does the idea of co-ownership just totally seem foreign to you guys?
No, I completely understand co-ownership. You're the one that doesn't understand how co-ownership works. Like, you think that co-ownership can occur without a contract, and then you can say that there's an assumed contract, and then you can say that, oh, it doesn't matter if one side breaks the assumed contract, which doesn't work to begin with, so it's you that doesn't understand it.
So let me build up the how this implicit contract works. First, you agree when you're born on someone else's land, an owner's land, you have to follow the rules no matter what, right?
Is there such thing as an implicit contract?
That's what we're taught to believe.
Wait. Answer. Can someone answer? Can someone with dignity answer the question I just asked?
No, I'm not going to dignify the answer you just asked because you're acting like there's somebody who rightfully owns all of America, and it's not the same thing.
I'm not talking about our specific case. I'm just talking generally. If you're born on an owner's land, you have to follow their rules or get out. If you I don't think they even have to let you get out.
Because you're using that to make it into something totally else. It's like, I agree that if you're somehow found yourself on somebody else's land and then you get old enough to start breaking their rules, then you have to leave. That's not the same thing as, oh, the United States is owned by quote unquote question mark everyone question mark. So that means that you have to leave if you don't pay the taxes that people want. It's just not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all, because there is such thing as someone owning land. In fact, I have this house, this fence around this yard, and you can't be here without following my rules. There's no such thing as the people own this entire stretch of land from California to Virginia, and we can make up new rules that you never agreed to, and you agreed, basically agreed. So thanks for the call, Skeeter. It's a completely pointless conversation he wants to have every single week. It's like so boring, and I don't even want to answer his phone calls, honestly.
It does make for boring radio for sure.
Yep. And that song is so funny because one time Ian and I attended a anti-Free Stater rally in downtown Keene that it was like put on by some Democrat state reps, and either after or before, I don't remember, the rally they were doing where they were just like calling us dangerous, and one of them called us not even the same species or something like that, something like really bad. Something like an invasive species, that's what it was. Well, afterwards they had like a band playing. It was just like a bunch of obvious like liberal boomers, and they were singing "This land is your land, this land is my land." We're like, yeah, of course you are. It's just the theme song of liberal boomers.
It really is. They want to pretend that we're all just coming together to own this beautiful land. This land is made for you and me. But they don't act that way. They don't act like they believe it. They preach it, but they don't believe it. It's hypocritical.
It's like, I saw a meme the other day where it was like a soy jack liberal. And it was like, you were standing on, a native tribe's land. And the native guy was like, cool, bro, do you want to give it back to me? And the liberal guy was like, LOL, no, I've already invited a bunch of other brown people to come live on it.
That's funny.
That is hilarious.
So, in the beginning of the show, we were talking about this thing happening in Quebec, Canada, how they're introducing a bunch of new laws to secularize the people there in the state, I guess. And it's like, it just seems like that's a broad term on purpose, because it's like, I could see, Western Canadians thinking, secularization of public places, of course, we don't want to push any religions down people's throats and stuff like that. But then they're doing it in private schools everywhere. They're saying people can't wear head coverings. They're saying, which I'm not like a fan of head coverings, but does that mean I think people should be banned from doing it? Well, it's a choice.
That's where it comes from, is like, yeah, I might think you're ridiculous for believing that, but I'm not going to hurt you for believing that, right? That's kind of like the line where it is. Like, I can say, I have the ability to say that's ridiculous, but I'm not going to hurt you over the fact that you do it. I'm going to let you go by, but I can still have the opinion of that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's like, I might even think it's worse if they were illegalizing calling it ridiculous, because of my own opinion that would be worse than illegalizing the wives of some totally weird men wearing their fetish costume all around the town, because that's honestly what it is. It's like everything about that, it just screams fetish to me. It's like with the no offense, Riley, just kidding, but I know you're not a Mormon anymore, but with the Mormons and their secret underwear, it's like, why do you think so much about sex all day? I'm pretty sure the non-religious people walking around Utah think about it like less than the Mormons wearing their freaking temple underwear. It's weird. You know what I mean?
They definitely obsess over sex because to them, sex symbolizes life. And they take life very important in Mormonism. So I think that's why they obsess about who you have sex with a lot. I don't think that's always the answer, and I don't think that it's not to pick on specifically Mormons. It's just a thing I would think all the time back then whenever I'd hear about, like, oh yeah, and their freaking underwear they're wearing under their clothes right now. It's like, how many times a day do you think about sex, wearing a hijab, and passing a man and thinking that if he saw your hair he'd be turned on, versus like a regular person walking down the street not thinking about that, thinking about dinner? You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. I think as I've listened to other people talk about this experience, they talk about it as this, this fear. It's a fear-based ideology that you can't be aroused by experiencing something in your body or being with somebody outside certain boundaries, and then you obsess over the boundaries way too much. And the problem with that is it creates a lot of fear in people and a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of I guess, a feeling of brokenness. And when you have that feeling of brokenness, it creates disconnection, is what I'm trying to say.
Like just disconnection from your own body?
Yeah, disconnection from your own body, from who you are as a human being, and you start feeling pathetic. And when you want to go live a life that you really want to live, you feel a lot of guilt and shame because you don't know how to put that in your life when you embrace liberty.
I could see that with, like, especially like young men in a religion being shamed for having like a natural reaction to like human life. But with the women, it's kind of like the opposite. In the Muslim women, it's kind of like the opposite. It's like you're made to think that you're the problem. Like if you walk around with your hair out, you're the problem if you get raped. That's kind of like, see what I mean?
Like victim blaming.
And I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying there are multiple problems with this. Yeah, and it is totally victim blaming. It's like...
Well, but that also goes to the same thing. Like if you didn't, it's like what they do with if you didn't want your car to get broken into, why did you leave anything expensive in it? Mm-hmm. Like, why would you say anything? What are you talking about? Right? Like, why would you? It is victim blaming.
Yeah. It is.
And it's gross.
I can understand the argument of saying, hey, well, we've got to have boundaries on sex and culture and everything. And I agree to them as much as I can as a libertarian because, yes, there should be boundaries, but I don't have a right to force my boundaries on you. So I'm going to decide what my boundaries are and live according to what my boundaries are. And I will also agree to be around people that have the same values as I do, so that we can create together a society that says, this is how we want sex to look. We believe in consent. We believe that people have the right to consent to have sex with whomever they want, as long as consensual. I personally would go, and there may be people who would say, yeah, let's go a little farther. And I can agree with them on one thing, is that, yes, let's place boundaries on things, but only if it's voluntary and consensual. And we're all agreeing to it. We all understand it.
Yeah, I just feel like no one community is ever going to all agree to, something like so specific. It's like vague like that, like, oh, it must be consensual.
Yeah.
That's more understandable, but so specific, like, well, if your hair is showing, you're, asking to get raped.
I can understand that perspective too.
It's always like it seems like whenever you make rules, the more specific they get, the worse it is. It's like, general rule, don't hurt people. It's like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. But then it's like, don't stick a fork in someone's direction, they could get hurt. And it's like, well, now you're really impeding on, see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how religion takes it. It's like, they don't just say like, no religion is out there just saying, oh, everything's fine as long as it's consensual. Like, no one should have a problem with that. Instead, it's like,
we gotta tell you what to do.
Women in other religions other than Muslim are okay to rape because, well, they aren't part of your religion and crap like that. It just gets further and further and further because they're obsessed with sex. That's where I'm basically, basically my main point here.
Yeah.
And
that's why I think a lot of the top religious leaders in fundamentalist religions are very sexually deviant, is because they've repressed desire too much.
Yeah, and they get to control everyone else and probably get off on like, yeah, but I'm not going to follow the rules. That's totally weird, but I definitely see that being a possibility. So in Quebec, the Muslims there are causing such problems that they're going up in the street, stopping, and going on their knees to pray and blocking cars. I hadn't heard of this, but Roberge, he's the guy that's the secularism minister, said that that's happening. And it says, the province, Quebec, will also limit the offering of kosher and halal meals in public institutions. We think that when the state is neutral, Quebecers are free, said Roberge, rejecting allegations that the law disproportionately affects minorities. We have the same rules applying to everyone, he said. But for Muslim students, the new rules feel like a personal attack against our community, Inez Rabaro, a first-year mechanical engineering student, told the Canadian Press. It's as if we're not welcome here. I don't know, it's like, and that's another thing that's been annoying me more and more. It's like, why does everyone have to be welcome everywhere? Maybe you're not, how are you going to be welcome in a whole country anyway?
Some people should have the right to just say, hey, we don't want you here.
Yep.
We don't want you on our property.
I definitely, if I got to choose myself, but the thing is, since it's not a communal place, I don't get to choose for all of Keene. If I got to choose for all of Keene, maybe I would say, yeah, if you're going to be so Muslim that you're wearing a headdress, don't come here. You know what I mean? I should have I should have the right to have a feeling. You say what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I feel like I'm not welcome here. Like, you don't have to be welcome everywhere. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Sarah in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yes, I just was at the university, and I wanted to ask the students to work on a shuttle because there's a polling location like a mile away. And what's funny is they were standing in line, like 100 people from 2 o'clock all day long. And the last kid voted on 8:45, and there was a polling place, a school, a middle school, like a mile away. And so I'm trying to solve that by having a shuttle. And I don't know. So I asked some professors and a couple of students who's going to go to the office. So I hope something gets worked out,
You're saying you want there to be a shuttle, or there is one?
No, there is no shuttle. I'm working on a shuttle, and they told me to email them. The administration. So I have to email them, and I don't know who to talk to. So I've had other students to work on it. And the reason I want the shuttle is it's kind of cold. It's only like a mile away. For a young person to walk, it's not too far. But I don't like them, like after dark, maybe it gets kind of dark after 5 o'clock, and I don't want the young women student to be in danger. And also, there's that big street, the 2 streets you have to cross, the intersections. Like, you have to cross in a bunch. Like, 10 kids have to cross together, otherwise you'll get killed, So that's my concerns about why I want a shuttle. Even though
it sounds like your advocacy for them to vote must have worked out if there's that many people in that one line.
Well, I was amazed. I'm amazed because the first time I went down there like 7 times, ran around for 3 hours talking to about 60 students, and all the time I thought I was just wasting my time. But it turns out that the Ubayas, the other candidate, was contacting them through the computer. You guys, what is it? What do you call it? The Facebook or whatever, you guys, Twitter or something, the computers that he was communicating with them, and 60% of the union students voted for Ubayas. And he was supposed to be more liberal and progressive than our current mayor, supposedly.
Wait, did he win?
Well, he got 3rd place, and he was only polled to get 7%, and he ended up getting 19%. And so, so that was the final official result, but they never ever thought that the young voters would come out as much as they did.
Maybe it was you, Sarah. Maybe it was genuinely you going out there and trying to get them to vote, because, I could see college students not feeling like doing the polls, but then if you got them to go out and vote, they voted. Well, good job, Sarah, I guess, for communism.
How much of an effect that I really have. I hope I made a lot of effect, because I think if you talk to one student, you'll be talking to like 30 students. That's how much they got in contact on their computers. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So I am just working on some kind of a shuttle. And I've also asked, Keller's campaign, our current mayor, now that we're down to 2, it's either the one Republican, the Darren White, or one Democrat. So if you're a student, you have 2 choices. What would you vote for? You would vote for Tim Keller, obviously, right?
Vote for who? Or vote what?
Tim Keller, our current mayor, is like a more Democrat. So we're down to the finals. Like, we got 2 candidates. The first was like kind of like a primary. Weeding out, we have 6 people. So we wind up the top 2. Now we're just voting for the top 2. So I don't know. I have a strategy. I was going to talk to the students to call out the current mayor, Tim Keller's office, to come down with a van and take the students back and forth. That's an idea, right?
That sounds super illegal.
What?
Having the current mayor who's running bus students to and from the polling location brought to you by the current mayor who's running for office.
That might be a good point.
Busing students to the a candidate paying for travel to a polling location is illegal. That would be super illegal.
I think that is legal. If you say that I will vote for Tim Keller, I am a supporter, I will vote for you, they're entitled to corral and get the votes out for their supporters.
I think that is probably I think the serves right on this. Like, they can say that they're going to bus in voters, they just can't tell them who to vote for. But, of course, like, if you're... Somehow they're able to know that the people that they're busing are more likely to be for them. Right, Sarah? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if I say that I'm a campaign, they have my phone number in my emails, and I say I need a ride to the polling place because I'm going to vote for you. They can't come and pick you up if they have people to come and pick you up.
But the only problem is probably like you're, I think, suggesting that the current mayor could use public funds to do it. That's probably where the illegalness comes in.
Well, what if he has his campaign fund from the fund that he raised from the donations of people that he could use his campaign to have his own band and have all the supporters to the polling place if they want to. I think
so too. I think you're right, but just not public funds. But I think you're right.
Yeah. So I think I don't know how that works, but he can raise his own funding on his own from his own supporters, I think. But I mean, the thing is that so you have to ask all the students in line. They're like, will you vote for Keller? Will you vote for Darren White? They're all gonna vote for Keller because Darren White is a Republican. He's all hooked up with Trump. Why would students vote for somebody hooked up with Trump, right? I mean, that's what Republican Party they band together. So then I don't know what the rules are. If they're standing in line, they got to wait an hour. Say, are you a Keller supporter? We could give you a ride and get about 7 of them thrown in the van. That's an idea. You know what I mean? That's something that I would like to work on.
Maybe it'd be easier to just ask this college to open up one additional polling place on the campus.
Another room. That's a thought. I don't know. That's an idea, but so.
Yeah, that'd probably be easier. Just put one in the library and one in the student union. If those are on opposite parts of campus, I don't know how the campus is.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's about 4 different libraries. They're not too far away. So, but I don't know. That's a thought, but it's the thing is that it's the county clerk that has to publish it beforehand. They just can't just open up places along the way. They have to be like printed out and authorized before they make all these locations. You know what I'm talking about? They just can't pop it up. That's the problem. So anyway.
Well, it does sound like Sarah's advocacy out on the college campus might work. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And Karlin Boroshenko is always saying she gets so annoyed with the right, even though she's basically part of the right now, because they just don't put in the work that the Democrats seem to put in. So Sarah's putting in work, and it seems to genuinely have worked out for her. More Free Talk Live coming up. 603-283-6160.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless crime spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials.
On Wednesday, attention turned to Washington, D.C., where 2 National Guardsmen were ambushed and shot at point-blank range. The alleged gunman was identified as an Afghan national who came to the U.S. on a Biden-era visa in September of 2021 after the U.S. military withdrawal. Officials confirmed he had worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. In the wake of the shooting, the White House halted immigration applications for all Afghan nationals.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
President Trump has also vowed to permanently pause all migration from what he calls third world countries and to denaturalize certain citizens as he uses the shooting to justify a ramping up of his immigration crackdown. Tragedy also struck Hong Kong this week. At least 128 people were killed and hundreds remain missing after a massive fire engulfed an apartment block that was under renovations. FSN's Laura Westbrook was at the scene all week.
There is black smoke that is continuing to pour off these buildings, and you can taste the smoke in the air. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated to some temporary shelters. Many of them are elderly. I did speak to one woman who was at a temporary shelter. This woman told me she is still very worried because she hasn't been able to make contact yet with a friend who lives in one of the buildings.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 is the phone number to call if you want to bring up whatever's on your mind. Change the subject, bring up whatever's on your mind, disagree with us. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's Free Talk Live, and that number is 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Riley, Bill,
and Angelo.
And we have multiple things to talk about tonight. We already kind of got into one thing that was definitely a big topic of the day, was the guy from Afghanistan who shot a National Guardsman, and now Trump is cutting down, or that's not the word, but he's chomping down, that's not the word either, on immigration, clamping down, there we go, on immigration. He already said he was going to in a Thanksgiving post. He wrote this long post, and I read the whole thing. I don't always read all his things, but somebody said it had funny stuff in it, and it kind of did. But he said that he was going to be completely stopping immigration from third world countries. I wonder who's the official decider of who's a third world country. Like, is it an American?
It's probably
institution?
some UN thing. I think it is a UN thing, and they kind of decide, like the security unit, like the security council, and those guys are considered like a first world, and then places like India. I don't know if India is considered a second world or a third world country. And then you have like a lower tier of country, and that's what's considered third world. I think it might be a UN thing. Don't quote me.
UN sounds like the right type of organization. Something like that's probably it. But I saw Trump say that just the other day, and then I guess it was today or yesterday that a National Guardsman got shot in Washington, D.C. by a man who worked with the United States in the Afghanistan, United States war that ended after 20 years of the United States. They finally pulled out. And then he decided to shoot a National Guardsman. It's like, Ian pointed this out. He's like, they never go and interview these shooters in jail, find out why they did the thing. This one didn't kill himself right after, so maybe not MK Ultra, but...
And they don't allow us to read the manifesto of the killer either. They want to bury it into the rug.
Yeah, if they have one. Have you heard of this particular shooter having one?
I have not. So I have no idea what's going on here. I'm not sure even if the story is true based on what Trump is saying, based on what the media is saying. I don't know what the truth is right now.
Yeah. So we already kind of talked about that, and Trump's using it as an excuse to not let any more of those same type of people, like Afghanistan people who worked with the U.S. in the recent war. He's not letting any more of them in for the time being. And it was a pretty good point that Tom brought up, saying when a cop kills someone, often, they never clamp down on all policemen because of one policeman. You know what I mean? They just say, oh, there's always a bad apple in a bunch. That's literally what they
Yeah, that's what they say.
And
so the guy was apparently part of a tier 1 group out of Afghanistan. So he was like a special operations Afghani soldier.
Oh, wow.
That worked closely with the CIA, like hand in hand, doing like, they're like black ops.
Maybe that's how he got here, and there's other people waiting in Pakistan. But
I wonder if there's propaganda out there to change this whole story to make it seem like we're being attacked by terrorists.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm saying. The opposite. I'm saying the guy literally worked hand in hand with the CIA. He's probably still doing what the CIA wanted him to do.
I imagine so. Yeah, the CIA wants you to believe that there's a boogeyman out there.
So
also peddling drugs.
Yep. Maybe the reason that Trump recently made Venezuela a no-fly zone, which I didn't know, the United States could declare some other country a no-fly zone.
I vaguely remember that, but
I think they just mean like you can't fly there, like an American citizen can't go there.
No. I'll pull it up. I actually think I messed up and don't have it pulled up right in front of me. I saw the thing it was on the front page of Drudge. It was saying all the different people that can't fly over it, and it was not just the United States. I was like, when I first read it, I thought he was saying, oh, just the United States can't fly over it, but it says more than just that. It says closed in its entirety. Donald Trump declared Venezuela's airspace closed in its entirety after he vowed U.S. land strikes will start very soon. I think he's like, I'm not saying at least as if it's a good thing or something, but I think the reason it applies to other people, which I can't get to right this second because I just got to find where I read that, is because he's telling them, like, we won't be responsible if you're flying over Venezuela and we shoot you or whatever, or land strike you or whatever.
Yeah, if you're in the airspace, then you could be a hot target.
Right, so...
well, that just sounds like we're going to war in Venezuela.
It definitely does. It says it comes after Donald Trump declared Venezuela's airspace is closed in its entirety after he vowed the U.S. land strikes will start very soon. That's awful. I don't want to go to... It's creepy to think of being at war in, a continent that's connected to the United States. It's always far, far away.
Yeah, it always feels like... Yeah, it's always been on the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is creepy. At least the Panama Canal still, like, technically cuts it in half.
Says a Venezuelan regime plane travels to the border with Brazil, and when that happened, that's when Trump got upset about it or something. According to the ADSB Exchange website, which monitors flight tracking data, the aircraft departed from Caracas and flew to the border with the Brazilian state of Roraima before returning to the Venezuelan capital. The aircraft was an Airbus A319 operated by Conviasa, a Venezuelan state-owned airline. The plane landed at Santa Fe de Aerodun Airport, about 250 kilometers from the border with Brazil, before returning to Caracas. The plane is described by the website as a VIP government aircraft and has been used by dictator Nicolas Maduro on official trips. It's not clear if Maduro was on the plane. I'm not really sure what the meaning of all this is. Like, why do we care about him going to the border of Brazil exactly? The plane flew just hours after Trump warned pilots not to enter the Venezuelan airspace. The warning comes amid escalating tensions between Washington and Caracas, with fear ramping up over an all-out war over Venezuelans' drug gangs. In a post on Truth Social announced to all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. The airspace closure comes as U.S. and Venezuela continue to clash over Trump's war on drugs, and the U.S. ramps up its military presence in the Caribbean. The U.S. military aircraft are already said to be almost constantly conducting patrols in the international airspace near Venezuela, a U.S. official told the Washington Post. On Thursday, Trump vowed to escalate military action against alleged drug smugglers, saying the U.S. military would start land operations in Venezuela very soon. He said, "You probably noticed that people aren't wanting to be delivering by sea, and we'll be starting to stop them by land also." You probably noticed that people aren't wanting to be delivering by sea, and we'll be starting to stop them by land also. It sounded like the sentence was wrong, but it wasn't. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. Is he saying delivering drugs? Sounds like maybe.
Yeah, he's saying we've stopped the submarines, so now we're going to blow up your land too.
Last week, the U.S. aviation regulator warned major airlines of a potentially hazardous situation when flying over Venezuela due to a worsening security situation and heightened military activity in or around the country. Venezuela has since revoked operating rights for 6 major international airlines that have suspended flights into the country following the warning from the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. Trump has accused Maduro of heading a state-embedded criminal empire that has corrupted the military intelligence agencies, the courts, and parliament.
Well, that sounds like us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What? It's like the Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maduro's just more like out in your face about it than the United States. Like, most people probably don't see it that way, but they'd be wrong. I agree with you, but I'm just saying, like, Maduro's just out and open with it. Like,
well, I wonder what the people in Venezuela think.
Oh, about what?
If Maduro's is out and proud about it as the U.S. if they're
Venezuela.
propagandized out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that. But in Venezuela right now, some of their prisons are run by the prisoners because they took over, and Venezuela just is like, okay, you guys have the prison, and we just like won't go over there and take it back over. It's like really crazy. It's gotten just like so bad over there because
like you stay in there and we won't shoot at you guys.
Yeah, they even have like their hose in there.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. I think there's a place like that in Mexico too, where like the prison is like its own city. It's like a town within a town, and everybody kind of has to have like a job, but there's not a lot of jobs. So if you don't have people giving you money on the outside, you're kind of like a beggar in a city that's a prison.
The ones who took over are kind of like the guards now, and the like ones who didn't like take over, the less bad ones, I guess, you know, like less violent ones. They're like the prisoners. It's like now it's like basically. Wait, what's that one study called, Riley? The Milgram experiment? Is that it?
The Milgram experiment is where they actually had authority figures tell you to shock somebody.
Oh, yeah, I mixed these
two up. The Stanford prison experiment?
Yeah, that was the Stanford
I mix those two up every time. So it's like a Venezuelan Stanford prison experiment, but it's real.
Yeah.
But I bring that up to say just like how maybe doesn't sound like a good example of corruption, but it kind of is, because it's like the government just spends all their time and money on what they want to be doing, and then it's like, oh, these, anything that you would think that in a society where we pay taxes so that we can have nice things, like, oh, we put the horrible drug dealers that decapitate people in prison. Well, that government isn't actually paying for that, doing that right now. They're just like feeding fat Maduro while you starve, and the prison's been taken over. Just stuff like that. He openly is, I don't know how you'd exactly say it, because in the United States it's like they're rigging the votes or whatever. In Venezuela, they just kill everybody who runs against Maduro.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, anyways, it is definitely hilarious and true that Trump has accused Maduro of heading a state-embedded criminal empire that has corrupted the military, intelligence agencies, the courts, and parliament. Because it's, as we know, the
it's
United
bad
States
when the other guy
corrupt.
does it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Could never happen here.
And
Trump,
if it does, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's defending freedom.
Yeah.
And democracy.
We need to bring freedom and democracy to Venezuela. I'm just kidding. I don't actually think
I know. I guess the radio can't hear me smile, but
Yeah.
I smiled. It was
I
a
can
joke.
actually hear it when people smile, believe it or not.
Ian likes to laugh that he can hear me smile. And it's just such a random thing. It's like, I don't know. You just like smile and like you make a sound with your mouth.
Yeah, you do.
But anyways, so I guess like the thing is like you can't always hear every smile. It's like you can hear a certain kind of smile.
Yeah.
But especially if somebody's just smizing with their eyes. I feel like you couldn't hear that. But anyways.
No, that'd be a little harder to hear.
Has Maduro banned praying in public?
I don't know about that, or if he cares about religion. I mean, I feel like most South American Catholics, it's like they're just fine with the Catholic grandmas praying, but they're not like some kind of like crazy, like everybody has to do the same thing type of religion. You know what I mean? Like they're just like kind of like.
Yeah, they're a little
like,
more relaxed in those countries, it seems.
It really does seem like that to me. It's like everybody's got all these like statues on their wall because it feels like it's more like it's like a good luck talisman than oh, if you don't have this talisman on your wall, then you are going to hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they sell those candles in the mini marts, like the prayer candles to
That's
the
the
saints.
vibe I get, at least. And then the people who aren't being Catholic, it's not like some kind of like, oh, you can't even show up in public. You know what I mean? And that's just my outsider looking in viewpoint. I could be wrong. I've just always kind of got that kind of a vibe from like Catholics. Like I LOL whenever like I LOL in Southern evangelism. Whenever I hear somebody say like, oh, my family's super Christian, they're Catholic. It's like, so you guys like take the classes when you're younger, then you're Catholic for life and like never pick up the Bible. Okay. I mean, it's just like, it seems like it's so much less hardcore.
Yeah, like this whole joke is like an Irish Catholic doesn't, he's drunk first and Catholic second.
That's funny. Never heard that. So, anyways, is he banning things like that in his country? I don't really know. We already know Canada's pretty down bad. Canada just reminds me of the UK at this point. Like, just the other day, I told my brother, because he was like, maybe I shouldn't say what he was doing because it was completely a joke, but I told him that somebody went to jail for that in the UK, and he was like, what? Why? And I was like, because they don't believe in free speech over there, that's why.
Well, and neither does Canada. I think that's been pretty obvious. It's like what I was saying earlier. Like, oh, you're shocked now, Muslim protesters when the government, arrests you and shuts down your protests. When they proved, 4 years earlier that they're totally willing to use force to shut down a protest. They don't care about you.
So I googled what does Maduro care about religion in Venezuela, which isn't exactly a coherent thought, but you're doing the radio and you're trying to listen and talk and everything. I typed that in, and the AI overview says, yes, President Maduro does care about religion primarily as a tool for political support. His government has created programs to court religious groups, particularly in evangelical Christians, and his son holds a key role in the ruling party's religious affairs. However, his administration also faces accusations of suppressing religious dissent and harassing religious leaders who criticize his policies. I want to see what it says about harassment. Harassment of critics. Maduro's representatives have been accused of verbally harassing members of the Catholic Church who have voiced concerns about the country's political and social conditions. The government has been criticized for trying to exert control over religious communities, such as through a plan that offered financial incentives for pastors for registering with a regime-controlled platform. Wow. Many religious groups reportedly practice self-censorship due to fear of retribution under the country's anti-hate law or penal code, which could be used against them for criticizing the government. Wow, anti-hate laws and the people you hate are the government, I would be in jail.
Oh, that's what they're doing in the UK right now. If you criticize the government over their immigration, not even just criticizing the immigrants, if you criticize the policy, well, then that's hate speech and you're getting arrested.
Wow, that's so dumb. That's crazy. So, are we going to go to war with Venezuela? Let's keep on reading what's happening now. It says, and this is from thesun.com, by the way. As part of Operation Southern Spear, some of the most advanced aircraft carriers are among the ships that have been deployed into the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific to tackle these illegal vessels, which are these vessels that Trump is saying have drugs on. I'm sorry, I skipped a paragraph there.
Well, this is going to be a drug war, and, Trump's going to attack Venezuela in the name of fighting a drug war.
It says, the U.S. last week designated Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization, putting the cartels in the same category as Al-Qaeda and Hamas. Experts say the Cartel de los Soles, or something like that, is not a traditional cartel, but a vast patronage web inside the Venezuelan state. I don't know what that really means.
Well, I think what they're saying is the cartel is actually embedded within the government. Like it's the sellers are the bureaucrats, right? It's all the same people.
Okay. I just don't really know what patronage
means. Like if you're a patron, if you're I guess like if you're like a patron at a bar, I guess you're like you go there a lot, you're like a
that sounds right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it sounds like it's the patronage is to the state. Like that's their beholder.
It says a patronage web can refer to two distinct concepts: a network of political and economic favors. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Or a model of direct fan support, which would be like patronage to people. But I think in this example, it's like political and economic favors. Like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So that's what he's saying. The most important part of that is that he's saying it's not just a cartel where it's like a group of people wanting to do a thing. It's those people and the government working hand in hand. And that's just what Trump says. Like, we don't know that as a fact.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like how the CIA was embedded with crack cocaine dealers within inner city communities working hand in hand to move drugs to make
Good
money.
Point. It's now reported that, Maduro has alleged Trump's buildup is designed to drive him out of power. It's now reported that Trump could meet Maduro for face-to-face crunch talks after the pair held a secret phone call. During the call, the pair reportedly discussed a possible meeting in the U.S., sources told the New York Times. If the summit took place, it would mark a dramatic shift in Trump's policy towards his South American counterpart and mark Maduro's first ever meetup with a U.S. president. But there are currently no plans for such a historic encounter to take place yet, despite the recent call, reports say. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was included in the conversation. On Wednesday, bizarre footage showed Nicolas Maduro swinging a large sword in the air whilst vowing to defy the U.S. in his latest desperate stunt. That read like a TMZ article.
Yeah.
It seems like this is just a big popularity contest, a humor show or something.
No, it sounds like the secret phone call was just them deciding on how many people are going to be allowed to be killed. And Maduro's going to get his money out.
That's probably it.
And this thing's going to go off, and they were just solidifying the details on how it's going to look.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
Because, right, they always have secret phone calls that nobody's supposed to know about, and then they'll meet in person and say they had great talks, but all the real talk happens on these secret phone calls. And to say that they don't, I think you're lying to yourself, right? That's just I wouldn't. That's when all the deals are made, or on these talks that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I think the government shouldn't allowed to be doing anything in secret, but at the same time, I honestly also go a little bit further and say I don't really know if I believe that any presidents are really making any kind of real calls like that, or calling any real shots like that.
Well, but that's why Rubio was involved. It's not just, I don't think, I'm saying that the decisions are made not at these, what I would call like paparazzi visits, where they can take a bunch of pictures with the cameras and they can smile and sit down in the leather chairs. Mm-hmm. That's not where they hash things out at. They hash things out on the back end in these secret calls.
Yeah, but they're like people with names you'll never hear and faces you'll never see doing the decisions. That's what I think, but I don't really think it's Trump. There was like talk a couple weeks ago that Trump was, because he was just doing like, remember we had a caller, I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, that called in and said like Trump is doing everything like different than he ever said he would do. Oh yeah. I think
that
so.
may have been Alu. It may have been someone else entirely. But yeah, Trump is going back on a lot of things he said.
But
so far,
at that same week, one of my friends was like genuinely looking at pictures, like recent pictures of Trump, and saying like it looks like a different person. And there was like serious thought, like idea going around that he had been replaced.
Well, they do that with every president.
Replace them.
Yeah. Well, or probably. They have the idea that there's always that theory that they've been replaced. I've seen that with like
earlobes don't change when you get older.
Well, for sure, but I'm just saying I've seen the same thing about Obama and Bush and Biden and now I guess Trump. I feel like I've seen that a lot.
Mm-hmm. It might just be a story and people doing things with photo editing, and
maybe there was never only one Trump.
Maybe there are all these multiple timelines spreading out, coming together, and rippling through the space-time continuum. Who knows?
Well, either way, apparently they're trying to talk about what they're going to do regarding other people's lives. Other people, like the dogs on the ground, as they call it, they're dogs, that they're going to sick on each other and see how many people can die in this like blood ritual that they do called war. And I think it's gross. I don't think we should be going to war, even if it's over, even if we could absolutely 100% know that it was true that Venezuelans were selling drugs to people in the United States. How about just stop the CIA from going along with that and, make drugs legal in the United States?
Change society to where you don't need drugs anymore. Don't harm people. Don't kill people. It's just creating a society that wants drugs.
More Free Talk Live coming up, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere and call in with whatever's on your mind.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire with Russia. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials. That deal would need to be cemented by President Trump and President Zelensky in person, something Kyiv hopes can happen before the end of the month. But that plan's contents may be unacceptable to Moscow.
Russia on Friday confirmed that it had received the updated proposal, but reiterated demands for more Ukrainian territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff next week to discuss the deal. FSN's Daria Bundichuk reports from Moscow.
President Putin reaffirmed that Moscow is willing to use the U.S. draft peace plan for Ukraine as a basis for future agreements. Putin criticized parts of the proposed framework as lacking a serious legal tone, suggesting more discussions are needed to work out precise details. One of the key issues of the talks is securing a guarantee of international recognition of any agreements reached. These would include Russia's sovereignty over Crimea and Donbass, something Ukraine has firmly opposed. The Russian leader also said that it is legally impossible to sign a deal with Kyiv, as Moscow views the current Ukrainian leadership as illegitimate, and warned Russian forces would continue their advance in the Donbass region if Kyiv refuses to accept his conditions for a ceasefire. Daria Bondarchuk, Moscow.
On Wednesday, attention turned to Washington, D.C., where 2 National Guardsmen were ambushed and shot at point-blank range. 20-year-old Army specialist Sarah Beckstrom died from her wounds, while 24-year-old Andrew Wolf is fighting for his life. The alleged gunman was identified as an Afghan national who came to the U.S. on a Biden-era visa in September of 2021 after the U.S. military withdrawal. Officials confirmed he had worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. In the wake of the shooting, the White House halted immigration applications for all Afghan nationals.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
That re-examination has now been expanded to every green card holder from what's being called a country of concern. President Trump has also vowed to permanently pause all migration from what he calls third world countries and to denaturalize certain citizens as he uses the shooting to justify a ramping up of his immigration crackdown. Tragedy also struck Hong Kong this week. At least 128 people were killed and hundreds remain missing after a massive fire engulfed an apartment block that was under renovations. It's the city's deadliest fire in decades. FSN's Laura Westbrook was at the scene all week.
There is black smoke that is continuing to pour off these buildings, and you can taste the smoke in the air. So this is very much an ongoing situation. This rescue operation is also ongoing as firefighters continue to bring this blaze under control. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated to some temporary shelters. Many of them are elderly. I did speak to one woman who was at a temporary shelter, and it is a very anxious time for them because this woman told me she is still very worried because she hasn't been able to make contact yet with a friend who lives in one of the buildings.
And that was Feature Story News' Week in Review. Tony Waterman reporting.
Zoo visitors watch the mating rituals of the ice cream shop staff, and a serious coworker puts on headphones to focus on his sandwich. Happiness is perpetually fleeting, so try to savor the next few minutes before it disappears once again. This is the Onion Week in Review. FBI officials announced they just can't bring themselves to bust a man who recently downloaded every season of the 1990s television show Picket Fences from a BitTorrent website. While stressing that pirating copyrighted material is strictly illegal, federal authorities expressed their sympathy for the man and claimed that perhaps the story of Sheriff Jimmy Brock and the strange events in a small Wisconsin town is all he has left to cling to.
We have more than enough evidence to bust him for piracy, but if the poor guy really wants to watch all 4 seasons of a 20-year-old CBS drama that nobody remembers, then he's clearly going through a pretty big rough patch right now. Frankly, we don't need to make it any worse.
For statistical purposes, we have seized all private data from your personal computer, and we are disgusted with your recent internet search history. You sick For more, keep checking theonion.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome back to Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever is on your mind. Talk about whatever's on your mind. We don't screen you out here. It's Free Talk Live. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley O'Bell.
And Angelo.
Just so you know, Riley, I'm doing the thing where I point at you again, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
I didn't see you pointing. So
every single
time. I'm glad I managed my lines.
Richie Rich was making fun of me for doing that once. It's just kind of muscle memory. And then every time I think about it, I start going like, oh yeah, and then I don't point at Angelo, so I'm like pointing at Riley and not Angelo.
Well, it's like, I don't think you need to point at me because I can just. It's almost like on beat now. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you just wouldn't believe it. There are people like sitting there in their own thoughts, and they've been on the show a million times, but.
They just forget to say that
they can even be third, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, you're talking to me." Like, yes, and
it happens. It happens.
I used to have this fear that I was going to say somebody else's name, and it's Ian. You know, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I don't know why.
Like you would say somebody else's name.
Yeah, that'd be like, and Angelo. I mean Bonnie. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. Especially when you're like second or third chair, I had more of that fear. Now it makes even less sense because I start off the sentence. So, anyways, with you on Free Talk Live, you got Bonnie, Riley, and Angelo, and we were talking about. I think it's like probably way more important than talking about a lot of other subjects. The fact that Trump wants the United States to go to war in Venezuela. Like, wouldn't it be crazy to know like our brothers and sisters are going off to war and it's just south of us instead of, like out in Afghanistan, ? Where even is that,
I still feel like if you ask most people to point at Venezuela on a map, they have no clue. They'd probably point it somewhere in the Middle East.
Oh, wow. I've always told people this story over and over again, but when I was a kid and everybody was like, I'm English, Scottish, and Cherokee, and every time I said Ukrainian, which I don't actually think I am anymore, but when I was a kid, I believed I was Ukrainian because my grandma came from there, or great-grandma. Well, other kids would constantly be like, what's that? And they always guessed that it was like in the Middle East or Asia. Like they did not know Ukraine as a place in Europe.
Oh,
I don't
interesting.
even think like American kids know that Eastern Europe exists outside of Russia.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
go,
like-
oh, that's a part of Russia? Okay.
I didn't learn about Estonia until I found a pop star I liked from Estonia, and that was like 9th grade.
Or like Serbia, or not to hate on Serbia, but I didn't know Serbia was a place until there's this. It's a really small college in my hometown, but they have a really good basketball team, and my great grandpa used to take me to their games to watch the basketball games. And they just happened to have a player that they had recruited from Serbia, and I was like, Grandpa, where Serbia? Is that like Siberia? I was like, is that Russian? And he's like, it used to be Russia, but it's not Russia. It's Serbia, but it's pretty much Russian. And I just kind of assumed that all those
I never really thought about that. It's
those
probably named
Eastern
after
Bloc
Siberia.
countries are just Eastern Bloc countries are just like it used to be the USSR. So I think we just kind of group them together as Russia still.
Even though I had an AP, I forgot what they called it, like world geography class or something like that in 9th grade, and I had to learn all the countries. It's like, it just kind of went in my head and right out the other, because it was like, oh, we're going to do this in like 2 weeks. You take the test and then it's like, it's over, because that's like the type of short-term memory they teach you to have in school.
Yeah, if you ask me to point at Azerbaijan on the map, I'm lost.
I had like an obsession with Azerbaijan last year, so I might be able to find that, but actually I Googled Venezuela on a map, and I'm not going to lie,
It's not where you thought it was.
it's not exactly where I thought it was, and it's way further. It's touching the entire north. Like, that's what I didn't expect. I knew it was like in northern South America, but the fact that it's most of the coastline of the north is a little scary to think of, because it's like it makes it even closer to the United States, close enough to Mexico, which is basically the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'm like, whoa, is that I always thought Colombia was on the east, not the west. Like, I always thought that in my head for some reason. It's like, when you say the word Shakira, I think of a Western South America, not Eastern or Eastern South America, but it's Western. That's weird. That was like blowing my mind right now. But anyways,
Yeah, well, I think I kind of just associated. I see where you're coming from, but I just associated Miami with cocaine and like Pablo Escobar, and I just kind of figured that they would be super close. You know.
It's so close, because it's showing this close-up of South America, but then it's showing this only North and South America in the smaller key circling the area that it's showing you close up. And wow, like that Colombia, Venezuela, that's so close to Florida. It's like Florida's reaching right out to it. So yeah, anyways, all that to say, I don't want to have a full-blown war going on in a South American country. That is just terrifying. And the other thing is, like, imagine being an American soldier thinking like, oh, it's going to be easy to go to war with Venezuelans when, you know, like, they've been doing their little proxy wars over there for, you know, 100 years or so. Maybe not exactly 100 years, but pretty freaking close, with all their different dictators. And, like, they know the land. They know the jungles. The freaking Amazon. You want to go to war in the Amazon? It's terrifying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's a lot of
That's
crazy stuff down there.
I don't think. And then you're not even just fighting like Venezuelans. You're fighting a bunch
Snakes.
of snakes and cannibal tribes that'll just take you in the night and eat you.
Oh
I didn't think of that at all.
Yeah, that sounds way more terrifying. I'd be more scared of them than any Venezuelan with an AK-47. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be out in a heartbeat. I'm not doing that.
Could you imagine
Cannibal tribes?
Could you imagine being a prisoner of war and being forced to drink a bitter tea like ayahuasca, and you're not aware of what you're taking, and all of a sudden you're blasted off and you have no idea what's going on?
And then you're eaten alive.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's likely to happen, Riley. Is that just something you were hoping would make prisoner of war ship more enjoyable?
I don't know. Part of me was.
I mean, what did we do with acid and MK
Yeah.
Ultra?
Yeah.
I mean, we blasted those guys off too. I mean,
Terrifying.
They did the same thing. Part of Maduro's experiments.
Terrifying. Oh my
It
god.
is a little terrifying.
You know, there's this whole thing I've just heard multiple times in the last couple of years where people are saying South America, like all the third world countries, about to flip and become first world countries when the United States empire falls. And it could be that this is like one of the original wars that start that kind of thing off, and that Maduro starts his MK Ultra and they gain more power. I don't know. It's kind of a creepy thought when you said that.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. What happened to the Germanic countries when Rome fell? They ended up becoming the might of the world, like with
After they were like people crawling in the dirt.
Yeah.
picking
I mean, but
onions.
that takes it's going to take a couple hundred years to like flip.
Mhm.
You know, like, sure, it's not going to be overnight. It could be with the internet. Now that the internet's here and everything seems to move at such a higher rate of speed, Maybe the power vacuum and all of that stuff would move at such a faster pace that it just kind of settles down before anybody really notices things are wrong.
That's a creepy thought. And I hate that the people making decisions are, people who do not care about you and I, psychopaths really, who have really no blood in the fight because it's not their children that are going to go off to war. It's not their, country that's going to be invaded because they'll be safe and sound and they're not necessarily the White House itself, but, wherever they will ship themselves off to, their underground bunkers, whatever.
And they'll make a ton of money off of it.
Yep.
Regardless. If win or lose, they're going to make money.
Yeah, they can go resettle in Venezuela if they want, or whatever, wherever else, because they'll just, change their name or whatever.
Yeah, they can just change their name and then claim that they're a part of a group and get into a brand new country. They'll make their own country.
Yep. Antarctica apparently isn't that cold. The other day, Mark told me that when he visited Antarctica, it was colder in Keene, New Hampshire that day than it was where he was in Antarctica. And I was like, what? How's that possible? And he said, technically, it was our winter and their summer, but it sure sounds bad, doesn't it? I was like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, there is summer down there during our winter here.
I wonder how much ice melts in Antarctica during the summer. How many feet of ice melt? If it's 65 degrees in Antarctica, I feel like
I never thought about
a problem.
Idea of them having summer ever. Literally, never thought of it till Mark said that. I was like,
well, there's South American penguins.
But I said, I never thought of that being the case. I never thought of Antarctica as having a summer. And he said, many people think the same of New Hampshire. That's so
that's true. That's true.
So funny.
That is funny.
Listeners, go on Twitter and tell Mark you want him back on the show.
Yes, I would love to hear Mark, the voice of reason, I guess.
Marco Eggio.
Yeah, Marco Eggio. We need Marco Eggio on the show.
It says that, this is so funny, this TMZ type sentence here on The Sun, which, The Sun is kind of like TMZ. On Wednesday, bizarre footage showed Nicolas Maduro swinging a large sword in the air whilst vowing to defy the U.S. in his latest desperate stunt. Sounds like me. The 63-year-old tyrant was seen in camouflage fatigues and whipping out the blade before crowds in Caracas. Is he trying to be like Milei? That's what it is. He's trying to be like Milei, like with his,
Did Milei wield a sword?
No, it was a...
Was it the scissors?
No, it might look like I'm doing scissors. It's, oh my god, what do you cut down a tree with?
A chainsaw.
A chainsaw. Oh my god, that
looked like scissors. It looked like you could have been loading a repeating rifle. It almost like a cowboy gun.
I didn't see anything, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Riley's lost.
I'm completely lost.
The worst charades partner ever.
I had the actual exact image in my head. I couldn't think of the word. So Milei, he would go and give his speeches and have I don't know if it's an actual chainsaw or what, but he was
he might have had a little electric chainsaw,
Yeah, he probably did. That'd be funny.
Or maybe a gas, because you can take the chain off a gas chainsaw and then just run it and pull the trigger and make it sound super scary. It's like what they do at the the haunted houses. They'll put a fake chain on the chainsaw and chase you with it and try to scare you.
The thing that always scares me about it, and I've only been to one once, it was the 13th floor in San Antonio, but the thing that always scares me about it is the idea that chainsaw guy or any other guy in there could just be a total weirdo that snuck in there.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
That's what I think of every single time.
Yeah, and then you see some poor girl get cut in half, and you're like, "Wow, this is super realistic."
Exactly.
And then they have to shut the whole thing down when you get out, and you just watch somebody get murdered.
That's horrifying. Yeah, I think that every single time.
That almost makes it even better. I think at that point, if you're really talking about being scared, because why else would you go to a haunted house? You're going there to be frightened. That's the whole point of them.
The thing is, a lot of people, they go in there to be frightened, but they forget they've never really known what it is actually like to be genuinely frightened, and then they're like, oh, I actually don't like this sensation. That was basically me. I was 13 at my friend's birthday party, went to the 13th floor, and it was so scary. I didn't ever want to do it again. And there was parts of it where they scare you with things other than screaming in your face. It's this material that envelops you kind of to make you feel like you're claustrophobic. That's awful. And then there's one where you can see the floor under you, it's like a glass floor or something like that. I feel all kinds of different fears than just screaming in your face.
Yeah,
it starts to really disorient you. It's hot in there. That's probably just because of San Antonio. It's loud music and stuff like that. I just hate it. It's dark. Disorienting is the worst part, I think.
Yeah, it sounds disorienting.
It's awful. So, anyways, why were we saying that? I genuinely think that Maduro is trying to copy Milei. Like, everybody's like taking notes on Milei. Like, how did he do this? Like, he won the young people. He was like not polled to win, and then he just did it again and again and again because they had like multiple votes.
And then he got Trump to send him $20 billion.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, Trump bailed out Argentina.
Really? For $20 billion?
$20 billion.
We need to have Scott back on the show to explain stuff to us because I haven't been really paying that much attention to Milei.
Yeah, it would be nice to have him call in and give us the Milei update.
Apparently, Milei just set up this first ever like Israel South America accord, like where they'll have Israeli government people come and having a big conference with them in South America. So that's even more proof of what I'm saying. They're about to become first world country.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
As the United States falls.
Yeah. Israel's hedging their bets against their current lapdaddy.
It's a little scary, honestly, and I'm talking about the government of Israel. That's what creeps me out.
Well, it's like what animals will run from something when like the smaller animals will like flee before the bigger animals do, like because they can feel something bad's about to happen. And I feel like the smaller animals can see that the big guy is not doing so hot, and they're starting to try to diversify their portfolios, so to speak.
They joined that I forgot what they called it, but it's named after the first letters of the countries. And
BRICS.
BRIC countries, yeah. They decided, we're going to care more about gold all of a sudden. And it's just everybody. When your country hates gold.
It's just everybody hedging their bets against the failing empire of the time, right? Because everybody can see it, but nobody wants to say it. It's a dead man, it's an old man or a dead man walking. We're in so much debt, everybody can see it. Mm-hmm. So the rest of the world is starting to move away from it before they get caught in the doom.
And there was this creepy
get caught up in the implosion
video. I don't know if it was recent, but I saw it recently of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's walking in it looks like an airport or something, and somebody says, "What are you reading there?" And he says the name of it, which I don't remember exactly the name of the book, but he says it's about the
Rome versus the Jews.
Yeah, it's about the Jews fighting Rome and like this battle where we won, and it's just like, oh, that's a little scary considering we're Rome, basically we're the empire.
Well, I think what he said was I'm studying it because we have to win this time, because I guess they lost last time in 70
you're
AD.
Exactly, that makes it way
creepier. When the temple got destroyed.
Considering Rome, Italy isn't exactly fighting Israel, it's a little scary that we're the current empire. Well, I'm saying we, like I have a mouse in my pocket. It's a little scary that the people the psychopaths in control of the landmass known as the United States are the ones that, are Rome right now, and they're the ones that have a bunch of control over what happens in everyone I love's lives.
Well, we are Rome, because it's the bank. It's the bank, and the bank has just moved from whoever claims to be the hegemonic power, and it's the same bank. It's been the same bank, and they've just kind of moved along like the central bank of Europe. That was started in Rome. It started with Rome, right? But eventually Rome collapsed and the bank had to move. Mm-hmm. So, eventually it ended up in England, and then England's empire kind of collapsed, and now they've moved into America. It's the same bank. It's Rome. We are Rome. Like, Netanyahu's not wrong, and currently we're the benefactors to Israel, and someday we won't be. And it seems like we're getting close to that point. A lot of people are complaining about how much money we're sending over there.
Yeah, I know. It's like the first time ever there are people, like even in my life, who've always been like Israel heads because they are Christians and like Israel, that are suddenly like, hey, these people seem evil. And it's like, wait, you're just like...
You're just now figuring out everything we did in the Middle East. Like, we bombed thousands of brown kids for
Israel
for good. Like, that was a good thing. You're just figuring out that it wasn't. You know what I mean? For Israel, at the behest of a nation the size of New Jersey, for mud democracy.
And it's just like, you even hear it in like our caller Tom's call or sentiments the other day. It's like everybody just thinks of them as that country as like it must exist because those people are such like victims, and it's like people have a right to exist. A country, no. Like,
there are also people that say that they have the religious right to exist there because it is their land because God said so.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's so
I
ridiculous.
would agree that's ridiculous because
It's like,
every
what
side
if
claims that.
what if a bunch of Hindus said that Krishna said they get that land? Should we respect that too? You know what I mean?
I understand that. I think it's fallacious reasoning to presume that one group gets the right to own a piece of land because their god says so.
Mhm.
I think it engages in special pleading to do so.
Yeah. It is definitely ridiculousness, and
Well, that gets into a whole like messianic, Mosaic law, rabbinic law. You know, are the Jews of today even carrying on the laws of Moses that are represented? You know, that's part of the whole debate too. Like, if you're gonna make claims to the land as these people, but you're not, and you're practicing a whole different, you know, set of rules and, you know, religious practices, you're kind of just putting on the clothes of somebody else to get. It almost reminds me of like Hitler saying they're the true Aryans, right? We are the master race, and you're just kind of wearing the clothes of these people to get extra benefits.
yeah, apparently the Aryans are like Persians that went all around the world instead of, you know, just like Germans. Like I would have thought if I was like a ninth grader, I would have thought, what's an Aryan? I guess they're the Germans, but I recently learned that
Proto-Indo-Europeans,
Mhm.
steppe people from like the Kazakh, like on the other side of the Caucasus Mountains, and they rode horses, and they're more like Mongolians, right? That's probably closer to that of what the Aryan culture was like, would be like Mongolian steppe herders that just figured out how to ride horses before everybody else
I
and
heard
took
different. I
over
thought that
half
they
of
were
Europe.
Indians basically, and they went all over and settled a lot in like.
But you gotta
Persia.
go like a little farther north, like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. Like, it's close to India, but it's in that kind of steppe mountain range of like southern Russia, eastern, southern Russia, like that northern.
Maybe they ended up in
portion.
Persia later than what you're talking about, because I listen to this guy named Giorgiani, Jason Reza Giorgiani, and he's always saying like basically the Persians were the Aryans. Definitely not the Germans either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not the Germans. And I definitely heard that from the same guy you mentioned too, Colin, and I listened to him on the way back
Oh, really?
from Pennsylvania. Yeah. It was
That's
really cool.
Really interesting stuff, yeah. And if you think about it, like the Persians were like so ahead of the rest of the Middle East for a long time, then all of a sudden Islam hits. But even then, they still really don't want to accept Islam. And I really wish that, and by that I mean Iranians now, they like really don't want to accept Islam. Like they have all these holidays from like before Islam hit.
Like Zoroastrianism.
Well, I don't know that if they are actually Zoroastrians or if it's just like they want to be more secular.
Well, like, because the Assyrian people were like the original ones before the, not Syrian, but the Assyrian people were like the natives before the Arabs kind of invaded in with like the conquest of Muhammad in that
like
part
they
of the
have
world.
a holiday that celebrates Cyrus the Great, and he was an Assyrian.
Yeah.
And the Muslim rulers keep trying to get the people to stop celebrating that holiday. Just stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's like, oh, they all want to be Zoroastrians, but they
don't want to lose their
don't wanna
culture.
and they don't want to be Muslims.
They don't want to lose their culture.
And that's why, like, if you look at it, Iran is really not like the craziest, like, lockdown Saudi Arabia, Islam, Muslims, you know?
No, it's not as bad as they say. There's actually, I was reading about the Armenian genocide that the UN didn't care about in the 90s, where the Turkish and the other Muslim countries went into Armenia and murdered their Christian population. And a lot of those Christians had to expat, and you know where they ended up? Iran. They're in Iran, and the Iranian government doesn't like force them to convert or is bullying them. They're like protecting them and helping them, and like the Iranian government's taking care of them. So like I'm questioning this entire, you know, this paradigm, right? Like
I know, I do not want to go to war with Iran.
And I don't want to go to war with Muslims. I feel like somebody's been telling me to go to war with Muslims, and they're
There's a war
and they're wearing a hat.
because they're going to steal your souls and take your religion from you and demand you
take
obey
my freedom
Sharia law.
from me. But all these people pushing these ideas in my head
They hate you for your freedom.
have certain they have a certain affinity for another country in that region.
Yes, they do.
That's not mine.
603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. Bring up whatever is on your mind. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials.
On Wednesday, attention turned to Washington, D.C., where 2 National Guardsmen were ambushed and shot at point-blank range. The alleged gunman was identified as an Afghan national who came to the U.S. on a Biden-era visa in September of 2021 after the U.S. military withdrawal. Officials confirmed he had worked with the CIA in Afghanistan. In the wake of the shooting, the White House halted immigration applications for all Afghan nationals.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
President Trump has also vowed to permanently pause all migration from what he calls third world countries and to denaturalize certain citizens as he uses the shooting to justify a ramping up of his immigration crackdown. Tragedy also struck Hong Kong this week. At least 128 people were killed and hundreds remain missing after a massive fire engulfed an apartment block that was under renovations. FSN's Laura Westbrook was at the scene all week.
There is black smoke that is continuing to pour off these buildings, and you can taste the smoke in the air. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated to some temporary shelters. Many of them are elderly. I did speak to one woman who was at a temporary shelter. This woman told me she is still very worried because she hasn't been able to make contact yet with a friend who lives in one of the buildings.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley O'Bill.
And Angelo.
And we were talking about how Trump seems to be basically declaring war in Venezuela. At least he has just said that land land bombs are going to start very soon. So how the hell?
I think he's trying to shift away everyone's eyes from Ukraine-Russia failing of the peace deal.
I don't know. I just think
I still want to see the Epstein list, dude. I'm still. I think it's all a distraction from.
That's probably AI generated now anyway.
Why are all these people robbing me
I don't know.
then
This idea
using
that
blackmail?
everything's always a distraction's a little annoying to me because it's like nobody's really paying that much attention. It doesn't really matter what we're paying attention to. They're going to do what they want anyway. One and two.
True.
The Venezuela thing is not something that even his base asked for. It's not like he's like, oh, throwing him a nickel. He's not. He's just doing whatever he wants. That's what is. It's like.
But that's what people said they liked about him.
My whole life, I've always thought oh, the United States has to kind of care about what people think, and I noticed it getting less and less and less. They care what the people think. My whole life, it mattered so much to the people on Fox News that Obama didn't actually follow through with several of his promises. Now it's literally no one cares. I'm sure Fox News people will still talk about it if it was Democrat in power, but my point is even the people around me, you'd hear them bring things up oh, he didn't shut down Guantanamo Bay, but now nobody cares when Trump doesn't follow through with something. You know what I mean? The idea that
but I think his base is fractured. Sure, maybe the regular mainstream media is still talking about it, but Marjorie Taylor Greene just resigned, and she was his biggest supporter. I think his base is fractured. I think
he threatened her.
I think the base is fractured. I don't think.
Why is he going after people who are Republicans at all? When he should
because
be
of the Israel
focused
thing.
It
all comes back to the Israel thing.
Yeah, Thomas Massey, the only one without an AIPAC handler allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he won't. They won't. I mean, how much did Madoff family gave how much money to Trump on this last run? Mary Madoff and her husband.
I have no idea what that means.
They're just huge AIPAC. They're just huge Israeli donors that fully funded the 2024 run for Trump. I mean, to the tune of $20, $30, $40 million donated to the Trump campaign. So he's doing what his handlers want him to do. But that's what every president does. They've always done what they're told to do or whatever they want to do, and not what the people have asked for. And that's probably been a thing since at least JFK, if not earlier.
But it's it always seemed when I was even younger, it's Obama wouldn't have just done Obamacare. It's a thing that his people wanted him to do, and maybe he had to kind of convince people that this is what you want. I mean, they had to convince people over many years that this is what you want because people might have been too smart in the 60s to think Obamacare was a good idea. So they have to slowly convince them, but it's still something that's now Trump is just doing things no one wants. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, nobody wanted Obama to just keep bombing the Middle East. He kind of just did that on his own, right? That wasn't something his base wanted.
The Republicans definitely wanted it,
but his base didn't.
But sometimes a president will do something like that their side doesn't actually want, but a lot of people do. I swear, I don't think anybody wants us to go to war with Venezuela, though. You know what I mean? Especially in the last few years, Republicans have learned to be less pro-war. They're so we're just wasting our money on nothing. And the military is mostly Republican. They're oh, so all those years that we spent in Afghanistan, that was for watching opium or poppy fields, and then I'm not dying for Ukraine, and they're finally kind of catching up.
Yeah.
What happens if the military revolts against the president of the United States?
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I don't really know what
They
happens.
just put another despot in power. It doesn't, that's the game. It just, it's kind of what I was alluding to this off air, but a revolution doesn't happen unless it's funded by the CIA in the world. Now, that's just.
I feel if that did happen, Riley,
that just is what it is.
To just answer the question, I think if that did happen, they would try to reframe it as if, never mind, we didn't want to do that anyway. Go ahead, military. We're going to go back to what we were always wanting to do, which was, you see what I'm saying? They would just frame it as a win.
That makes sense to me that they would do that because then it would make the story more plausible to the American populace.
I don't see it happening because the thing is
what do you think them shooting JFK was? That was just 100% a CIA military coup of them to install the guy who wants to go to war.
I just think like the average military person deciding we're not going to listen to the president would be like a thing that's never been seen. And the thing is like you don't go to boot camp and come out unbrainwashed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I do think that like tides are shifting where people are becoming less pro-war because they've just been so crazy into wars that don't help us, and it's been so blatantly obvious to everyone. Like people like my dad's generation were saying things like, "Oh, when we were pulling out of Afghanistan, I just knew that we were doing it in a way to hand over the power to the the Taliban, and like what were we even doing over there the whole time?" Stuff like that. It's just like I think they finally pushed people too far, but it's just at the same time, if you're currently in the military, you're already there. You're listening to the president. Like if they all just decided, or a big enough group of them decided to mess things up for the president, like we're not going to do what you say, that'd be unseen from like world history.
Or you just wouldn't hear about it.
Yeah,
and they would when a couple platoons revolted, they just wipe them off the face of the earth, and you would never hear about them again.
I'm sure they have like some kind of.
Sorry, your son died in a trading accident in Kabul.
Or they have some kind of like ways of dealing with dissidents that we just, personally don't know about. I don't know, like you get this horrible duty for the next few months, or I don't know, just something like that.
Or you get set up. Oh, we planted drugs in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's that simple. You have a gate guard plant drugs in your car. There
but
goes
if
your
it's
whole
like
career.
a whole, like half the military or something, I don't know. They probably have some kind of plans.
They're so embedded that they probably know about it before it happens.
Yeah.
Right, because it's all about and everything's tracked in technology. All the messages you send are followed, and before you could even organize
and
at that
please
level.
don't use Signal. We can't read your Signal messages.
Yeah.
Please don't use a VPN. We can't catch a terrorist in Venezuela if you do that.
So can you? They actually, because my joke was, they put out this. Oh, we didn't mean to put out this paper showing that we can't decrypt Signal messages, and lots of people think that's because they can, and they're wanting to funnel us there. Signal's just the best of those apps for me to use. Like seriously, Telegram's so bad.
I don't
just,
like
so
Telegram
crappy.
either. It's not my favorite app to use. Hardly even accessible.
I do want to say though, we've been kind of rambling, and I think we need to let this caller talk. It's David from San Francisco. David, you're on Free Talk Live. What is on your mind?
Well, yeah, I think you're all partly right on the reasons why he's looking at Venezuela, but there's kind of the bigger picture too, that historically a president or a political party that's in power during a war gets reelected. And so no matter if it's Epstein file, no matter if it's the looting of America, no matter if it's the ignoring pollution, a nation at war wants to resume with the party in power. And so I think that's a major aspect of it.
You think Trump wants a third term?
Oh, without a doubt. I think he's, if you look at a cornered rat, he can't allow anybody to come in after him because they'll investigate him. He's going to be hanging in there until the day he dies, as far as I'm concerned. And it's, he's gotten to the point where he's committed so many crimes in just so many multitudes of ways that he's ruined the reputation of America, and then the value of the U.S. dollar has to fall when nobody wants to reinvest in America. He's created the hyperinflation. If you're familiar with hyperinflation in between World War I and World War II in Germany, the Germans had kicked out the Kaiser. They were finally a brand new republic, and Hitler was somewhat brought to power by the Kaiser, because the Kaiser then used his wiles to ruin the value of the mark, and you actually had to have wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. And if you can imagine the cost of printing a bill, you know, a Deutschmark, a 50, a 20, a 5, whatever, and the printing costs of that were just, you had to have wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread, and that a loaf of bread was worth more than all of the printing costs of all of those bills. And so it was so phony that, you know, people, they were basically begging for the base. Oh, I've got somebody knocking at the door.
Oh, no.
They were basically begging for some surcease and allowing a fool to come to power like Hitler.
Well,
it seems to me that, you know, when we have these people in power, they always want to keep it. And like David is pointing out, people in power don't let it go. And it's really hard for them to let it go.
What's that?
It seems like you're telling us that people in power don't like to let it go.
Oh, he can't let it go. You know, like that's why I said he's like a cornered rat. You know, he has no escape. He's going to be in prison for eternity. His reputation will be shot forever. His whole family will be beggars on the street once he's out of power. The idea that this guy is giving pardons to, I mean, what did I read the other day? A Medellin drug cartel guy gets a pardon. It's just amazing, you know, the idea that this guy is handing out pardons. Do I remember right during the before he got reelected, he was caught on tape talking about $1 million could buy a pardon.
Wait,
Really?
Trump said that?
That he was offering pardons for $1 million apiece. And that he was caught on tape saying that. And then all of a sudden he starts handing them out.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's like it's pretty interesting because in the history of religion, you know, the Protestants were basically opposing the Catholic Church. And Martin Luther was one of the famous Catholic, I think he was a monk, and he figured out there were something like 97 crimes that the Catholic Church was doing, and he nailed this list of crimes to the door of a cathedral. And in it, one of them was called indulgences, where you could pay money in advance, pay now, sin later. A pay now, sin later plan. And so Trump is basically doing indulgences. He's handing out pardons to people who have committed crimes and then pretending that they can continue to commit crimes.
Well, I can't find anything about him being caught on tape saying that $1 million can buy a pardon or anything, but there was Rudy Giuliani. Associates of Rudy Giuliani were reportedly recorded and claimed that presidential pardon could be secured for a fee with amounts discussed in the range of $2 million. Seems like they probably know what they're talking about, though. So to your point, it sounds like they probably, like associates of Rudy Giuliani would probably know what they're talking about and be aware that Trump would be doing such things. And it is very shocking to me that he didn't quite pardon a drug trafficker yet, but Trump says he will pardon ex-Honduras president convicted of drug trafficking. That just, again, it's another thing that he's doing that's going completely against what his base wants and what you would think that he would be all about. Like, he's all about being anti-drug traffickers, right? But yet he's considering pardoning this guy. It's very strange. I don't understand it, like what his angle is.
Trump definitely has done some strange things, for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, a few minutes ago, you all were talking about the CIA and their role in some of this Project 2025. It's kind of an interesting, conundrum that the CIA is supposed to be a clean organization, but the Nazis, there are a lot of books talking about. I think it was a famous Eastern Bloc Nazi or Eastern Front Nazi that was sneaked into America, and he was the one that I think it's Heydrich. He was a general, and he was the guy that helped designed the CIA. And so the CIA was supposed to be clean, but they were dirtied right away. And then organized crime got involved with the CIA's projects. And so it was as if it was a fight between organized crime and Nazis to see who could really run the CIA. And if you study the Kennedy assassination, it's very obvious that the decision to capture Cuba away from Castro had to be to the advantage of organized crime, who wanted their prostitution, drug running, and gambling and whatnot available a short distance away from Miami. And so the whole idea that the CIA had a pretense of cleanliness, but organized crime ended up running them. And so
and just that they were founded by Nazis, little known
Well,
fact.
no, but it was also like you're forgetting the OSS also had a huge role in building the CIA. Not the OSS, the MI6 or MI5, whatever it was at the time with the British. You know, the hand in hand, the OSS and the British kind of, right, because the CIA used to be the OSS. Right, during World War II.
You're right about the OSS. And it's interesting. Wild Bill Donovan was the head of the OSS, and he was squeezed out by the development of the CIA. So the OSS falls apart and is rebuilt as the CIA. So it's kind of interesting. Study Wild Bill Donovan, and he was kind of a famous old. I think he was a World War I general, and I'm trying to remember if he goes all the way back to the Rough Riders with Teddy Roosevelt, and so he was kind of a distinguished military guy that was allowed to develop the spy program, or kind of the elite spy program during World War II, but he gets squeezed out by those Nazis. And there's a whole lot to work on with the development of it. But in the long run, the organized crime more runs the CIA than clean activities.
Well, that's because espionage and the underbelly, right? The underworld, right? That criminal component, they go hand in hand, and they have. Since forever. If you wanted information, you don't go to the cops, you go to the drug dealers and the underside of things. Those are the people who really know what's going on. So if you're going to build like a worldwide secret spy network, you're going to tap into the spy network that's already kind of built, and that's within like an organized crime syndicates.
Well, I don't disagree. It's kind of interesting, too, if you look at the history of, there are a couple of biographies of J. Edgar Hoover. During the early 90s, these biographies came out, and they described how Hoover had discovered that organized crime was taking all of their money through Meyer Lansky and buying Wall Street. And so they were, if I remember right, it was 2.5% of Wall Street was being bought by organized crime per year. 2.5%. That means in 10 years' time, they'd have 25% of Wall Street. 20 years' time, they'd have 50%. And so by the 60s, the organized crime had a big hold on Wall Street. And so think about Project 2025. If they claim to be big business, but in fact they're more like organized crime fronts, that they're really doing the payoffs for organized crime, and the CIA is working for big business. They're all working. They're all Type A personalities. They're all fighting among each other, but in the big picture, they're all stealing from each other too. And it's a hell of a mess because you can't get any stability out of it.
Well, they're not stealing from each other. They're stealing from you and then fighting over the money, right? Don't forget, like it's not they don't have any money to begin with. It's all taken from you as the taxpayer. To begin with, you're the one generating the value, right? You're the one generating the wealth for these people then to use how they will, and they're not good people.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, money is a belief system, and if we have a belief system, and it's lately I've been kind of pushing this idea since Trump wants to get rid of the penny. we hang on to the pennies, and we don't use them as a number one anymore. We use them as project done. That when you see some person you want to work with, you work on a project with them, and then you convey back and forth that you've succeeded a project, and you get paid back with a symbol. And, you know, a penny can be a symbol like that. And I'm working toward the day when a penny can be worth more than a Bitcoin.
Huh.
And
that'll be interesting.
That'll ever happen.
It's inevitable in the long run because, like I say, the hyperinflation, when the wheelbarrows full of money are required to get a loaf of bread, it's going to be easier to just make a loaf of bread, project done, as opposed to have to round up stacks and stacks. I've got my grandfather's old stamp collection, and honest to God, they went up to hundreds of millions of marks to send a letter.
Wow.
And don't we have a 1 billion African bill floating around somewhere?
I can't see it from here. It's one of those on the wall.
On the back. Well, yeah, we have one of the 1 billion African notes.
Yeah, it's Zimbabwe. I
The
think.
Zimbabwe $1 billion.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and as toward the end of Jimmy Carter's term, the Zapatistas down in Chiapas, Mexico, before that you could get a peso, 16 pesos to the dollar, and then it got so bad it was 30,000 pesos to the dollar. So if the average person wasn't paying attention, they were thinking, oh, well, I'll get 100 pesos an hour, or I'll get 1,000 pesos an hour. No, you needed 30,000 just to break even. And so the average person gets eaten alive by this insane inflation. And that was only at 30,000 to the peso, not, as I understand it, during that hyperinflation, it got into the billions. 6 billion, I think, was as bad as it got. And, my grandfather went to the consulate, and he spent like 40 cents, and he got major wad of cash, and he just handed them around to the kids in town to play with. It was a horrible time. And but I think that's a big part of what Trump and his cronies are up to. They're just trying to so ruin the economy that they can snap it up without the average person realizing the value of the money.
Well, but that's been this plan in motion for decades. It's been the hyperinflate, put us into debt up to our eyeballs, and then break the backs and run away with all the riches. This is just we're getting to a culmination point of things that have been put in play long before I was alive.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, I know it's getting toward the end of the hour. Happy holidays, and I'm going to be all radical and say happy holidays.
Same to you, man. Same to you.
Well, that would be anti-radical in Quebec right now. Being radical in Quebec right now would be to say happy
or Merry Christmas.
Ramadan.
Yeah. Is Ramadan during Christmas time?
No,
I don't know.
I don't know when it is.
I don't know either.
Well, whatever. You get the point. Thanks for the call, David. And it's always good when we can agree with David because there are things to disagree with that he says.
Sometimes David comes out of left field. And it's like, whoa, partner, whoa.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call. And I agree that the Nazis started the CIA.
Well, I think it's not just you got to look into how the Nazis and the English had their own backdoor deals. Like, it's espionage, man. It's backdoor phone calls that set up the world that we don't talk about.
More Free Talk Live, freetalklive.com. Thanks for listening. More Free Talk Live tomorrow, same time. Peace.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. Forkfest.party.
Eleutheromania, the insatiable desire for freedom. It's the new 3-song heavy metal EP from Captain Kickass. Available now on your favorite music app or get it directly from CaptainKickass.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Coming up next after the news, Hour 1 of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, here at listen.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off with hopes that momentum to end the war in Ukraine was building after top U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Geneva last weekend. On Monday, the Europeans got involved. A group of 30 nations, known as the Coalition of the Willing, held talks to discuss the deal and security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire with Russia. FSN's Stuart Smith filed this report from London.
There's been confusion about the status of peace talks over the past few days as representatives of Russia, the United States and Ukraine tried to provide nuanced updates without jeopardizing ongoing talks. Ukraine and the United States appear to be close to a deal, also supported by the Europeans. It's been dubbed the 19-point peace plan, whittled down from an initial 28-point peace plan after talks in Geneva. That 28-point plan was cautiously welcomed by Russia and would have forced Ukraine to cede territory and limit its military. But the latest 19-point plan, while secret, reportedly does not, and has been spoken of positively by Ukrainian, American and European officials. That deal would need to be cemented by President Trump and President Zelensky in person, something Kyiv hopes can happen before the end of the month. But that plan's contents may be unacceptable to Moscow.
Russia on Friday confirmed that it had received the updated proposal, but reiterated demands for more Ukrainian territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff next week to discuss the deal. FSN's Daria Bundachuk reports from Moscow.
President Putin reaffirmed that Moscow is willing to use the U.S. draft peace plan for Ukraine as a basis for future agreements. Putin criticized parts of the proposed framework as lacking a serious legal tone, suggesting more discussions are needed to work out precise details. One of the key issues of the